501. Run, the tribe leader is crazy. The Netherworld Blood Sea, seizing the body of the Styx ancestor. As expected, Yan Tianxiang's face changed drastically after searching Yan Chuan's charred corpse. He pointed at Yu and Yan Wenjing, mother and son, and trembled as he said, "This is the good deed you, the clan chief, have done." The other clansmen were greatly astonished. Could there be a twist to the events of that year? Yan Fanghai, whom you possessed, refused to admit guilt, saying that old ancestor had no proof. Seeing your stubborn refusal to repent, Yan Tianxiang directly displayed the scenes from Yan Chuan's memory before the clansmen's eyes. The assembled clansmen clearly saw that it was Yan Wenjing who, at the final hurdle, actively asked Yan Chuan for help. Unexpectedly, after he came out, he bit back at Yan Chuan, causing everyone to misunderstand Yan Chuan deeply. The image Yan Wenjing had cultivated over the years instantly collapsed. Many of the younger generation even felt deeply ashamed for having previously tried to curry favor with him. Yan Wenjing's eyes were vacant as he murmured, "Why did he come back? Why?" Yan Chuan's childhood sweetheart, Yan Ying, completely broke down. So Yan Chuan was the strongest prodigy in the clan, and the one she had been trying to please with her body all these years was actually a despicable thief. He had stolen the glory that rightfully belonged to Yan Chuan. Thinking of the malicious words she had once spoken to Yan Chuan, Yan Ying collapsed onto the ground, unable to stop covering her face and weeping. Ha ha ha! Unexpectedly, Yan Fanghai burst into a manic laugh. "That's right, all of this was done by my son, Yan Wenjing. My son, Yan Wenjing, is a despicable, vile, and filthy scoundrel, so what? Yan Wenjing, as a father, saying such things about your son in front of the clansmen, isn't that a bit much? Besides, Yan Fanghai also knew about this matter. Since you've discovered this, everyone must be buried with my son." Subsequently, Yan Fanghai actually began a massacre among the clansmen. The clan chief has gone mad. The clansmen who were watching the show fled in panic. Yan Tianxiang cursed him as a Ni Zhong, evil spawn, and directly attacked Yan Fanghai. Yan Tianxiang originally intended to capture him, but unexpectedly, with one palm strike, he didn't resist and was instantly killed on the spot. Now it was his turn to be stunned. What was this? A death wish? Then, he felt an irresistible consciousness control him. You successfully possessed the old ancestor of the Baifeng. You have also finally become a Grand Unity Golden Immortal. You slapped Yan Wenjing and his mother to death. Seeing Yan Ying still regretting and weeping, you walked over. You hate crying and whining the most, what kind of behavior is that? So, you kicked her to death. Next, you will go to the Yuming Blood Sea to find old ancestor Mingxie. Before leaving, you sacrificed the entire Baifeng clan. They were all a bunch of blind and heartless things, it's better to use them to increase your power. The changes in the Baifeng alarmed many surrounding tribes. Many races spread rumors that ancestor Baifeng had suffered chi deviation. A Grand Unity Golden Immortal is considered a minor expert in the Great Desolation. As long as one does not actively provoke trouble, safety is guaranteed. 2 years later, you successfully arrived at the Yuming Blood Sea. At this time, you were still ancestor Baifeng. You didn't encounter any quasi-saints along the way, which was a bit of a pity. Otherwise, your speed could have been even faster. It's not too late now. Old ancestor Mingxie is a powerful expert at the late stage of quasi-saint. As long as you possess him, good times will come. Mingxie has not yet created the Asura clan. The vast Yuming Blood Sea seemed relatively desolate. However, there were still some demon gods present. These demon gods were former subordinates of demon ancestor Luohu, who, after his death and the dissipation of his Tao, turned to Mingxie. Mingxie also accepted all comers. Luohu was indeed powerful, but Mingxie believed his innate foundation was no less than Luohu's. These demon gods seeking refuge with him showed good judgment. Upon arriving at the Yuming Blood Sea, you directly flew into it. Because this is the most defiled place between heaven and earth, and many demon gods are entrenched here, external beings rarely come here. You roamed the Blood Sea for 2 days and didn't find old ancestor Mingxie, but you did encounter a demon god at the late stage of Grand Unity Golden Immortal. You deliberately provoked him, and he swallowed you in one gulp. You then possessed him and learned his name was Mingxie, one of old ancestor Mingxui's most powerful descendants. From his memories, you learned the location of old ancestor Mingxie. Mingxie was deeply loved by old ancestor Mingxie. It wouldn't be easy to make old ancestor Mingxie kill him. However, this also couldn't stump you. Old Ancestor Mingxie has two accompanying spirit treasures. One is the two swords, Yuan Tu and Abbey. The second is the 12-grade Karma Red Lotus. These two spirit treasures are also top tier among innate spirit treasures. As long as you attack them, they will trigger an automatic counterattack. At that time, it will be fatal enough. Because their owner is Old Ancestor Mingxie, the divine law of karma will automatically determine that Old Ancestor Mingxie killed you. Then, you can proceed with the possession. So, you went to visit Old Ancestor Mingxie. Under the pretext of seeking guidance on cultivation, you approached him. Then, you directly attacked the Yuan Tu sword he had placed in the main hall. A flash of sword light descended and instantly reduced you to ashes. Old Ancestor Mingxie was greatly astonished, not knowing what madness had come over you today. Could it be that you secretly harbored ambitions and wanted to seize his divine sword? However, he soon understood the reason. This is. Old Ancestor Mingxie's eyes revealed a look of horror. An irresistible force directly suppressed his divine soul. A quasi-saint in the Great Desolation is only equivalent to an immortal lord in the immortal realm. To you, they are merely ants. If it weren't for Hongjun tampering with your divine soul, preventing it from leaving your body directly, you would have already gone on a killing spree. After possessing Mingxie, you frowned slightly. His innate foundation was indeed good, considered top tier in the Great Desolation. However, his cultivation technique was too crude, and he hadn't fully tapped into his potential. Otherwise, becoming a saint would be effortless. This couldn't be helped, the Great Desolation was in its early stages. Many cultivation techniques were self-discovered. They simply couldn't compare to the later generations, which were nearing the end of their epoch. You learned from Old Ancestor Mingxie's memory that Hongjun's sermon in the Purple Cloud Palace outside the chaos of the Great Desolation would begin in 1 year. However, you did not intend to go. You were quite interested in the Tao that Hongjun preached. But you were even more afraid of being instantly killed if you showed your face. Anyway, many people would go to listen to the Tao, you could just find someone to search their soul afterward. You began to deduce a top-tier cultivation technique suitable for Old Ancestor Mingxie, based on his innate foundation. 1 year later, the sermon at Purple Cloud Palace officially began, with powerful beings gathered. According to later records, this sermon would last for 3,000 years. This was your perfect time to counterattack. 502. Swallowing the evil spirit, secluded for 3,000 years. 3 ways to become a saint, to prove the truth with force. 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. Soon, 100 years passed. You finally deduced a top-tier cultivation technique that can directly cultivate to the half-step immortal exalted, which is the He Dao realm. This cultivation technique does not devour immortal qi, but rather evil qi. The Yuming Blood Sea, as the most defiled place between heaven and earth, gathers all the evil qi of the entire primordial domain here. It is inherently excellent cultivation fodder. Excessive absorption of evil qi has 3 negative effects. It can cause qi deviation, affect one's mind, and generate karma, attracting the power of heavenly Tao's Jia Fa. Old Ancestor Mingxie, being a top-tier innate saint born from the Yuming Blood Sea, can completely ignore the first effect. And with your divine soul and mental realm, the second effect also has no impact on you. For the last one, that will depend on the 12-grade Karma Red Lotus. Karma cannot be cleared and generally can only be washed away by karma. Many cultivators rarely kill for fear of karma clinging to them. But the 12-grade Karma Red Lotus can release karma fire to absorb karma. You can use it to regulate karma, preventing too much karma from gathering around you during cultivation. As long as you maintain these karma at a certain level, it will not attract the attention of the heavenly Tao. Next, you plan to refine all the evil qi in the entire Yuming Blood Sea. This evil qi has accumulated for hundreds of millions of years. If all of it is refined, it will be enough for you to break through to saint. Now, it depends on whether you can break through before Old Ancestor Hongjun completes his first sermon. 100 years, 200 years, 300 years. The evil qi of the entire Yuming Blood Sea began to rapidly decrease. The various demon gods and demon cultivators residing within were all puzzled. The Yuming Blood Sea was originally a place in the primordial domain that collected various negative forces. The evil qi here should only accumulate more and more, so why is it decreasing? This feeling was like a person getting younger and younger. It was quite incredible. They knew this change must be related to the owner of the Yuming Blood Sea, Old Ancestor Mingxie. Since Old Ancestor Mingxie didn't say much, they didn't dare to ask. It's just that the evil chi is decreasing year by year. Could it be that the Yuming Blood Sea will turn into a place without evil chi? When you were in seclusion for 300 years, you broke through to the peak of quasi-saint. When you were in seclusion for 350 years, a group of witch race prodigies, pursued by the Yao race, fled to the Yuming Blood Sea and sought your help. The witch and Yao races are currently the two most powerful forces in the primordial domain. If you lend a hand, you will offend the Yao race. If you stand by and do nothing, you will offend the witch race. The key is that both of these races are narrow-minded. Offending either one is troublesome. Damn it, why did they have to run here? And ask for your help. Isn't this putting you on the spot? Is there any fair solution? Waiting online, urgent. Help, help, old ancestor Mingxie, help. The witch race prodigies were still crying for your help. The Yao race experts, on the other hand, threatened you. Mingxie, I advise you not to meddle in others' affairs, otherwise my Yao race's mighty figures will not let you off lightly. Damn it, all of you, die. You opened your mouth wide and swallowed all the experts from both the witch and Yao races. Now you haven't favored any side, isn't that fair? As for the 12 ancestral witches and the Yao race's Eastern Emperor Tai and Emperor Jun, if they have the guts, they can come to the Yuming Blood Sea to find you. Anyway, you just broke through to the peak of quasi-saint, and it's a good time to test your strength. Eastern Emperor Tai and Emperor Jun, far away in the Purple Cloud Palace, frowned upon hearing this news. Isn't old ancestor Mingxie always timid? Did he eat dragon liver and phoenix gall today, to dare to offend both the witch and Yao races, two top-tier forces, at the same time? Forget it, at this moment, old ancestor Hongjun's sermon is more important. After the sermon ends, we will go find trouble with him. By then, if he doesn't cough up his assets, the Yao race will never give up. The 12 ancestral witches, however, were happy to see the Yao race suffer a setback. Even if those witch race prodigies weren't killed by old ancestor Mingxie, they would have died at the hands of the Yao race experts. Their hatred for you is not as great as that of the Yao race. They even had the idea of winning you over. After all, the enemy of an enemy is a friend. Time flew by, and another 1500 years passed in a flash. Nearly 2000 years had passed since Hongjun's sermon. 80% of the evil qi in the Yuming Blood Sea had almost dissipated. Even the seawater was no longer blood red, but light red. The Yuming land was filled with evil qi, making it a forbidden land. The water of the Blood Sea was even more turbid and could defile one's divine soul. Now that such a change had occurred, it quickly attracted the attention of many forces. But no one knew what you were up to, or why you were doing it. Another 800 years passed. The Yuming Blood Sea was almost as clear as seawater, no longer known as a forbidden land for living beings. Many demon gods couldn't stand this change and fled to other places overnight. If they didn't run, they felt they would be purified themselves. In the Purple Cloud Palace, old ancestor Hongjun finally spoke of the method of becoming a saint, which was of most concern to many innate saints. As the first saint between heaven and earth, many primordial domain mighty figures wanted to emulate his Tao and ascend to the saint position. Hongjun leisurely said, "There are 3 methods to become a saint. The first is the method by which I became a saint, called slaying the 3 corpses, using one's own Tao to complete the heavenly Tao. The second method is to become a saint through karma. By performing great deeds of karma, one can instantly become a saint. The third method is to prove the Tao with strength. When your strength is so mighty that even the heavenly Tao has to acknowledge it, you can naturally achieve the saint position. This method of proving the Tao with strength is the most difficult method. You do not need to try it, just focus on the first 2. However, as soon as his voice fell, in the primordial domain, a terrifying pressure suddenly came. A grand voice resounded throughout the entire primordial domain. Even the Purple Cloud Palace, in the chaos heaven, could hear it clearly. I am Mingxie. After 3000 years of seclusion, today I shall prove the Tao with strength and achieve the saint position. Countless primordial domain beings were shocked. All the mighty figures in the Purple Cloud Palace also fell silent. Teacher Hongjun had just said that this path was the most difficult, yet old ancestor Mingxie, the only quasi-saint who hadn't come to the Purple Cloud Palace to listen to the Tao, actually announced that he would prove the Tao with strength. Isn't this slapping him in the face? Boom. The heavenly Tao sensed it, and jehu gathered. Proving the Tao with strength is a heaven-defying act. To achieve this, the heavenly Tao would inevitably obstruct it. Lightning flashed between the clouds in the sky, and bolts of thunder brewed. A heavy roar resounded, and the heavenly and earthly pressure descended. This heavenly tribulation was too realistic, making you unable to perceive any illusion. You became increasingly curious. Is this a real primordial domain, or an illusion? 503. In the late stage of the saint, the sword splits the Zishao palace. Grab the chaos bell and return to the world. Under the tribulation clouds, you stood upon the 12-grade Karma Red Lotus, surrounded by the Yuantu and Abi swords. When terrifying purple cloud divine lightning bolts struck down one after another, you fearlessly met them head-on. Boom, 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 the heavenly tribulation was world-destroying. It caused all the innate divine sages to be terrified. Even the smallest wisp of the tribulation lightning would be difficult for a quasi-saint to withstand. Yet, you remained calm and composed, as if everything was within your grasp. You endured this heavenly tribulation for 3 days and 3 nights. After refining all the evil chi from the Yuming blood sea, your strength was no longer weaker than a supreme immortal king. You were even considered a strong individual among the saints. These heavenly tribulations simply could not do anything to you. When the heavenly tribulation ended, the heavenly Tao had no choice but to acknowledge your saint position. Subsequently, a large amount of heavenly Tao karma descended. All of this was the karma rewarded to you by the heavenly Tao after you devoured all the evil chi of the blood sea. With the evil chi of the Yuming blood sea cleansed, even the great tribulation of heaven and earth would be postponed for many years. The amount of karma was so immense that it was enough to allow someone to become a saint on the spot. You did not stand on ceremony and directly used this karma to enhance your strength. Your strength surged again, reaching the late stage of a saint. This was the realm of an emperor light immortal king. At this moment, you looked up and met the complex gazes of the group in Purple Cloud Palace. The realm they had painstakingly pursued for so many years, you had achieved so easily. Old ancestor Hongjun also had a solemn gaze. Aside from him, there were only 6 fated saints, and Mingxie was not among them at all. In other words, you were an anomaly. And your gaze was fixed on Hongjun from beginning to end. At this time, he had just attained the Tao not long ago and was only in the early stage of a saint. You were eager to try and attack him. Damn it, you directly slashed at Purple Cloud Palace with a single sword. The enormous sword light even stirred up monstrous waves in the chaos. Old ancestor Hongjun did not dare to be careless. He directly brought out the jade creation disc fragments. At the same time, he declared, "This person is an anomaly of heaven and earth. Everyone, join me in attacking, otherwise the entire primordial world will suffer a great tribulation." Upon hearing this, many innate divine sages attacked together. After all, Hongjun had preached for so long, and they owed him the grace of imparting the Tao. Of course, not everyone attacked. A portion of them were unwilling to offend the new saint, such as the good-natured Hongyun, and the earth-immortal old ancestor Junyuanzi, among others. Another portion simply wanted to watch the show. The most typical among this group were the 12 ancestral witches. They considered themselves the orthodox of heaven and earth, and were arrogant. When old ancestor Hongjun preached, he didn't even prepare cushions for them, only 6. Who was he looking down on? Shouldn't everyone get one? Most importantly, the Tao he preached conflicted greatly with their witch clan's cultivation system and was simply not suitable for them. The fact that they had listened to the Tao for so long without leaving was already giving Hongjun, the first saint of the primordial world, some face. Although these innate divine sages had not become saints, they still posed a considerable threat to you. For example, Eastern Emperor Taiyi's innate supreme treasure, the Chaos Clock. The Taiji diagram in Laozi's hands. The Pan-Ji-Yu banner in Celestial worthy of the primordial beginning's hands. These were all innate supreme treasures. If you were not careful, you could easily get injured. A group of quasi-saints had so many good things. Thinking that you, a saint who had proven the Tao by force, only had 2 innate spirit treasures in your hands, you felt indignant. Clang, an ancient, majestic bell, emanating profound aura, pressed down on you. It was precisely the Chaos Clock. Come here. You grabbed the Chaos Clock in your hand, and a large amount of evil chi erupted from your body, forcefully sealing this innate supreme treasure with power far exceeding Eastern Emperor Taiyi's. If I can't snatch the jade plate of fortune, can't I snatch you? The others were greatly startled by this and quickly moved their magic treasures away from you, fearing that you would snatch them. Hongjun, if this is all the strength you have today, then it's over. You sneered and scanned the crowd. The 12-grade karma red lotus floated among the crowd, and a vast amount of karma gushed out. All of this was accumulated during your process of refining the Yuming blood sea's evil qi. It was just right to give them a big show. Many innate divine sages avoided so much karma as if it were a snake or scorpion. The next moment, all this karma was ignited by the 12-grade karma red lotus, spreading towards the powerful beings. This karma was enough to keep them busy for a while. No one could interfere with your battle with Hongjun in the short term. Hongjun's cultivation was always too much lower than yours. Even with the jade plate of fortune, after 180 moves, he was still severely injured, coughing up large mouthfuls of blood. Just as you were about to forcefully kill him, the surrounding scenery changed rapidly. Just like when you first entered the primordial world. At the same time, a large amount of time correction force assailed you. Only at this moment did you finally understand. You had just entered the primordial world of the past. Everything you experienced was real. Then, you looked at the few magic treasures in your hand. You didn't care for innate spirit treasures. But innate supreme treasures were very rare. Especially the chaos clock, which could both attack and defend. You were still lacking a defensive innate supreme treasure. However, the terrifying time correction force made it impossible for you to bring it back to reality. Let alone an innate supreme treasure, under normal circumstances, you couldn't even bring back an acquired wonder. Otherwise, everyone could go to the long river of history to search for treasures. But now is different from the past. You didn't return to the past on your own. All of this was manipulated by Hongjun behind the scenes. To obtain the innate supreme treasure, you no longer held back. You tightly gripped the chaos clock. You used the king of divine laws, myriad laws divine rule. You directly transferred the time correction force that was impacting you to the person behind the scenes. You take the benefits, and Hongjun enjoys the time correction force. Who told him to send you to the past? This is called reaping what you sow. When your divine soul returned to the present, both your main body and Tao body awakened completely. Returning with you was also the chaos clock. It had Eastern Emperor Taiyi's imprint within it. You instantly removed the imprint of a mere ant and then imprinted your own. Of course, it would still take some time to completely refine it. After all, this was an innate supreme treasure, rare in the world. Meanwhile, old ancestor Hongjun, who was fighting you, spat out a mouthful of old blood, his aura plummeting. He was suffering a severe backlash. 504. Hongjun was seriously injured and changed history. Split the mountain to save his mother, sacrifice Yangjian. Hongjun originally only wanted to send you to the past to wear down your divine soul power. To limit your strength, he even specifically made you transmigrate into a pangolin with an inferior bloodline. And he himself had already become a saint in that era. An Earth Immortal Realm pangolin versus the first saint of the primordial domain. Under these circumstances, you actually managed to counter-kill him. He had never seen anyone as terrifying as you. Most importantly, you even forcibly brought back the innate chaos supreme treasure, the chaos clock, from the past. He thought you would suffer a backlash from time, but unexpectedly, you were the one who caused a stir in the immortal realm a while ago, the one who created the King of Divine Laws. Your King of Divine Laws, instead, caused him to suffer a severe backlash from the power of time correction. If he hadn't had the jade plate of fortune, even with his profound cultivation, he would have perished. The heavily injured old ancestor Hongjun directly used the jade plate of fortune to break through space and disappear from the scene. You searched for a while but couldn't find any trace of him. Who knows which corner he hid in to heal his injuries. Even if the power of time correction was mostly offset by the jade plate of fortune, the remaining power was still enough to take half his life. In any case, it was impossible for him to appear again in a short time. You also didn't know how he managed to send you back to the past of the primordial domain. The era you transmigrated to was the early Dragon Phoenix Tribulation. It was the ancient Chaos era, over 80 billion years ago. However, the river of time from 50 billion years ago had already been cut off by the Tao Ruins realm. Perhaps, it was the work of the Jade Plate of Fortune. Subsequently, your Tao body returned to the seventh heaven primordial continent. With old ancestor Hongjun gone, the primordial continent was completely yours to command. These Emperor stars also became your possessions. However, to avoid prolonged complications, it was better to let them awaken as soon as possible and take them with you. With your current strength, you were capable of accelerating time for the entire primordial continent. Of course, the primordial continent was too vast, you couldn't achieve a tenfold acceleration like in the Chongsheng world, at most, you could only achieve a tenfold acceleration. However, every bit of acceleration helped. Your act of accelerating time for the primordial continent naturally alarmed old ancestor Hongjun's 6 disciples, Lord Taishang, celestial worthy of the primordial beginning, master of the heavens, Jian, Zhunti, and Nua. With their master having fled, these disciples were no match for you. You suppressed them with a single hand. You discovered something interesting from their minds. The old ancestor Minghe you possessed had actually changed history. He became the first saint in the primordial domain to prove the Tao through strength. He alone suppressed a host of top experts, making them gasp for breath, and even snatched the chaos clock from Eastern Emperor Tai's hands. It was just that during the battle in Purple Cloud Palace back then, you suddenly disappeared when you were about to achieve a great victory. It became an inexplicable mystery in the primordial domain. You took out the chaos clock and asked them if they still recognized it. Everyone was scared stiff. No wonder old ancestor Hongjun hadn't appeared for so long. It turned out that you, old ancestor Minghe, had reappeared. Next, it was time to collect the spoils of war. You remembered that there were several innate chaos supreme treasures in the primordial domain. However, you didn't find any traces of supreme treasures on them. You learned through a soul search that when the 2 immortal venerables fought, causing the destruction of the primordial domain, their valuable possessions had already been plundered by other immortal venerables. The 2 immortal venerables who fought were Asura Immortal Venerable from the Foreign Realm and Mystic Sound Immortal Venerable from the 9 Heavens. The ones who plundered them were not these 2 immortal venerables, but other immortal venerables who took advantage of the chaos. Lord Taishang's Taiji diagram was taken by Yaoqi Jade Mother from the 8th heaven. Celestial worthy of the primordial beginnings Panji Yu banner was taken by Maha Immortal Venerable from the Foreign Realm. Master of the Heavens' immortal slaughtering sword formation was taken by Evil Dragon Immortal Exalted from the Foreign Realm. The immortal slaughtering sword formation in Master of the Heavens' hands now was merely a replica. You couldn't help but shake your head, wondering why these immortal venerables were like bandits. In comparison, you had become a great philanthropist. However, it was a great miracle that old ancestor Hongjun's jade plate of fortune wasn't stolen. That was one of the fragments of a chaos supreme treasure. How could those wolf-like immortal venerables easily let it go? Old ancestor Hongjun had too many mysteries surrounding him. According to the memories of his disciples, he had long been qualified to become an immortal venerable, but for some unknown reason, he had never undergone the breakthrough. Could it be that he would be spurred by shame, heal his injuries, immediately break through to immortal venerable, and come back to trouble you? You felt that this was possible. After all, these Emperor stars had infinite wonderful uses, and he had schemed for so long, so it was unlikely he would give up easily. What you could do now was to make these Emperor stars awaken as quickly as possible. Sacrifice as many as you can. You were already at the 7th realm of Immortal Emperor. As long as you underwent 2 or 3 more breakthroughs, even an immortal venerable would find it difficult to easily kill you. Especially now that you had the chaos clock in your hand, your survival ability was even more enhanced. The next one to awaken would be Yang Jian. Celestial worthy of the primordial beginning said that to make him awaken, he must accomplish the feat of splitting the mountain to rescue his mother. There was also a heavenly court in the primordial continent. Its supreme ruler was called the Jade Emperor. Yang Jian's mother, Fairy Yunhua, secretly descended to the mortal realm, married the mortal Yang Tianyu, and gave birth to Yang Jian. This act angered the Jade Emperor, who sent divine generals to suppress her under Mount Dao. Yang Jian's original intention for becoming Immortal Master Yuding's disciple was also to rescue his mother. Currently, his strength was still a little short of being able to split the mountain to rescue his mother. So you had Immortal Master Yuding bestow upon him a gourd of 9 revolutions golden core refined by Lord Taishang. This was the 9 revolutions golden core refined by Lord Taishang's true body, far superior to what the monkey ate back then. After Yang Jian consumed it, his strength indeed greatly increased, and he underwent a breakthrough to Emperor Light Immortal King. Afterward, you threw the battle heaven axe to a certain place, where he picked it up. A month later, Yang Jian arrived at Mount Dao and successfully rescued his mother, Fairy Yunhua. He awakened his star fate, Kui Star. Kui Star could enhance his strength, and he also rescued his mother, which was a double blessing. Unfortunately, before the mother and son could reunite for too long, Yang Jian was grabbed by a large hand descending from the sky. Fairy Yunhua thought it was the Jade Emperor's doing and wanted to plead for him, but she was again suppressed under Mount Dao by the Jade Emperor. The Jade Emperor did this to protect her. The higher-ups of the primordial domain knew who took Yang Jian. If Fairy Yunhua tried to save Yang Jian, not only would she die, but it would also bring disaster to the entire heavenly court. Yang Jian quickly entered the doomsday altar. The transcendent existence descended again. So far, you were the only one making sacrifices. And you were about to sacrifice nearly 10 Emperor stars. Are you trying to capture all the Emperor stars in one fell swoop? 505. Quickly pass the conferred god, and sacrifice one after another. Life is not easy, Hong Jun sighed. You don't need to say it, the existence in the dark already knows the old rules. Since you don't have cultivation methods for the 8th and 9th realms, you've applied the power that enhances cultivation to the myriad laws divine rule. Mastering Tao principles is simple, either create them yourself or comprehend existing ones. Most people choose the second path. However, you quite want to take the first path, because once this king of divine laws transforms into a Tao principle, it will definitely become one of the 3,000 Tao principles. Currently, your innate treasures are sufficient, so use them to enhance the myriad laws divine rule. Now there are GFA, Zhang Zia, Lei Junzi, and Shen Gongbao left. According to the speed of their awakening, GFA is the last. The next one to awaken should be Lei Junzi. Soon, Hu Zaimei, the 9-headed pheasant demon who charmed King Zhou of Shang, began to cause trouble again. She poisoned and killed King Zhou of Shang's Queen Zhang. Upon learning of this, King Zhou of Shang was furious. Queen Yang's father, Zhang Wanchu, was a powerful marquis. How could he explain Queen Yang's death to her father? Hu Zaimei, however, said she was thinking for the great king, and since Queen Zhang was dead, he might as well summon Zhang Wanchu to Cheoj and execute him, to prevent him from raising an army in rebellion. King Zhou of Shang was somewhat moved. Hu Zaimei struck while the iron was hot, suggesting that the other 3 powerful marquises also be summoned to Cheoj and executed together. This way, King Zhou of Shang could rest easy. King Zhou of Shang finally decided to implement this plan. Soon, the 4 great marquises of the east, south, west, and north, Zhang Wanchu, Yi Chongyu, Ji Chong, and Chong Huhu, all received King Zhou of Shang's order to report to Cheoj. Among them, Ji Chong, the Marquis of the West, encountered stormy weather on his way to Cheoj. He made a quick calculation and said that a general star was about to be born. His subordinates quickly found a baby near an ancient tomb. Because he was born during a thunderstorm, Ji Chong named him Lei Junzi. The disciple of celestial worthy of the primordial beginning, Yun Zongzi of Mount Zongnan, soon appeared and said that this child was fated with him and he wished to take him as a disciple and teach him Tao Dharma. After Yun Zongzi displayed some divine abilities, Ji Chong handed Lei Junzi over to Yun Zongzi. Several months later, Ji Chong, the Marquis of the West, finally arrived in Cheoj. He thought it was a normal report, but unexpectedly, the deranged King Zhou of Shang imprisoned him and the other 3 marquises. The other 3 marquises were tortured to death one after another. Because of his son Boi Cao's plea, King Zhou of Shang spared Ji Chong, making him eat his own flesh and blood. After Ji Chong, the Marquis of the East, ate it, King Zhou of Shang believed he had lost the will to resist and released him back to his territory. Unexpectedly, as soon as GFA left Cheoj, King Zhou of Shang reneged. He sent people to capture him. Just at this critical moment, Lei Junzi, who hadn't been seen for more than half a year, actually descended like a divine soldier. He sensed Ji Chong was in danger, and his general star had awakened. And he had directly grown into an adult. However, just as Lei Junzi sent GFA back to his territory, a giant hand descended from the sky and seized him. Ji Chong searched everywhere but found nothing. He couldn't find him, because Lei Junzi had already been thrown into the doomsday altar by you. Your cultivation surged again. Next, only Zhang Zia, Shen Gongbao, and GFA remain. Since escaping from Cheoj, Ji Chong had been searching for extraordinary individuals to help him overthrow the rule of King Zhou of Shang. Under your guidance, he met Zhang Zia by the river, who was fishing with a straight hook. Seeing that he could catch many large fish, Ji Chong was very surprised and wanted to recruit him. Zhang Zia politely refused. The second time, Ji Chong led his officials to visit Zhang Zia again, showing him great respect. This time, he finally agreed. 3 days later, Zhang Zia was in Fefta's Taigong by Ji Chong. At this moment, his star fate rapidly awakened. He awakened the Flying Bear Star. After awakening the Emperor Star, Zhang Zia could use the investiture of the gods and the god-beating whip, greatly increasing his strength. Next, he would assist Ziki in attacking Shang. His power would reach its peak. However, a giant hand descending from the sky shattered his beautiful dream. On the other side, because of the matter of presiding over the investiture of the gods, Shen Gongbao harbored resentment towards Zhang Zia. Upon hearing that he was infected as Taigong by Ziki, he immediately defected to the Shang dynasty. Then he awakened his destined ill-fated star. He was also captured by you. This was the first time you had sacrificed 2 emperor stars simultaneously. Shen Gongbao was still thinking about how to kill Zhang Zia. He never expected to have already become fish on someone else's chopping block. At this moment, he felt so ridiculous. After you sacrificed the 2 of them, the existence in the dark descended again. You said, old rules. The feedback from the sacrifice of the 2 emperor stars caused your myriad law's divine rule to suddenly grow significantly. Now, only GFA remains. Only when Ziki completely overthrows the Shang dynasty and establishes the Zhou dynasty will he awaken. Soon, at your instruction, the 9-headed pheasant demon advised King Zhou of Shang to conquer Ziki. King Zhou of Shang already had this intention, so he arranged for the 4 demon generals to lead the army. In this battle, Ziki suffered heavy losses, and many of Ji Chang's sons and vice-generals were killed or wounded. Ziki and the Shang dynasty were now completely irreconcilable. Afterward, to protect Ziki, various immortals took turns entering the fray. They successively experienced battles such as the burning of Ziki, the 9 Bends Yellow River Array, and Jishiling. Especially after Jishiling, Kong Zan, the guardian deity of the Shang dynasty, was taken away by Taoist Junti, and Ziki shifted from defense to offense, beginning to advance towards Cheoj. Afterward, they experienced major battles such as Jiaming Pass, the 10 Absolute Arrays, the Immortal Slaying Array, and the Myriad Immortal Array, with almost all the Immortal Emperors of the Great Desolation personally participating. Finally, in the Battle of Muya, GFA completely destroyed the Shang dynasty, and King Zhou of Shang immolated himself. GFA established the Zhou dynasty and awakened the Zaiwei star. While he was still bestowing titles on his officials, you publicly captured him and threw him into the Doomsday Altar. Those unaware of the inside story looked at each other in dismay. Jifa's establishment of the Zhou dynasty was destined by heaven and supported by many great figures of the Great Desolation. Who would be so audacious as to abduct him? A small number of those who knew the inside story, however, looked sorrowful. What dynastic change? It's merely a game played by the great figures. Those who thought they could change everything were still destined to be slaughtered by others. After sacrificing GFA, your myriad law's divine rule was further strengthened. At this point, all the emperor stars of the Great Desolation have been sacrificed by you. All of this was naturally known to old ancestor Hongjun, who was hiding in the dark healing his injuries. He sighed. These emperor stars were not easy for him to acquire. Otherwise, how could so many emperor stars gather in one great desolation? He could have actually entered the immortal Venerable realm long ago. But his ambition was great. He single-mindedly wanted to master the creation principle, which ranked among the top 10 of the 3,000 Tao principles. 506. Shaoshu quota, Hongjun breaks through. Tianwu Temple, free points. If he could advance to immortal Venerable with the creation principle, his strength would be far greater than that of an ordinary immortal Venerable. As long as he sacrificed these emperor stars, he would get what he wished for. Unfortunately, he still fell at the last step, making a wedding dress for you. The epic calamity was approaching, and he didn't have much time left. Since that was the case, he should advance to immortal Venerable sooner. He still had the principle of gold, ranked 237, which was far inferior to the creation principle, but it was all he could do. Thinking of this, his hatred for you deepened. After he advanced to immortal Venerable, he would surely make your life worse than death. Another year passed, and Hongjun had completely recovered from his injuries. He began to inscribe the principle of gold into the ancestral court to advance to immortal Venerable. This process would take 3 to 5 years. After 3 to 5 years, he would become a true immortal Venerable. Your main body was still cultivating in seclusion. Your Tao body, on the other hand, was searching for other emperor stars everywhere. 3 years later, your Tao body in Wu City actually discovered that Shaoshu Immortal King had entered the trial grounds of Tianwu Immortal Lord. He was a rebirth, so he must have come prepared. It was unknown if he could enter the final stage. A month later, the trial grounds glowed brightly, and on the ranking list of the trial grounds final stage, another name appeared, Xiao Shu. His scores for each stage were also listed. Comprehension ability stage, A middle. Cultivation stage, B lower. Mind and will stage, A upper. Overall evaluation, A lower. After millions of years, a peerless genius with an overall evaluation of A had finally appeared again. The entire Wu city was shaken. For a time, an endless stream of people came to offer gifts to Xiao Shu Immortal King. Being able to achieve this evaluation meant he would at least be a half-step immortal exalted in the future. Moreover, Xiao Shu Immortal King was also an Emperor star, so there was great hope for him to become an Immortal Venerable in the future. Xiao Shu Immortal King was already the 11th person to enter the final stage. There were only 12 spots in total for the final stage. Once 12 people were gathered, the true final legacy trial would begin. Who would claim this last spot? Everyone only had one chance to participate in the legacy. Many prodigies in the immortal domain who had intended to consolidate their strength could no longer sit still and rushed to participate in the Tianwu Immortal Lord's trial. At the same time, old ancestor Hongjun finally broke through to Immortal Venerable. Many powerful beings in the immortal domain sensed that another Immortal Venerable had appeared in this world. It was just that after ancient chaos, the path to Immortal Venerable was almost cut off. Except for Emperor stars and Demon stars. Who else could break through to Immortal Venerable? When they perceived that it was old ancestor Hongjun, they were not surprised. With old ancestor Hongjun's accumulation, he could have stepped into Immortal Venerable at any time. It was only because he was determined to master the creation principle that he had not broken through until now. Moreover, he was born at the beginning of the ancient era. He was not considered a being from after ancient chaos. It was normal for him to break through. It was just unknown if he had mastered the creation principle. Otherwise, there would be another powerful Immortal Venerable in the world. The first thing old ancestor Hongjun did after breaking through was to return to the great desolate continent and attack your Dao body. Your Dao body was startled to see old ancestor Hongjun after his breakthrough. This guy had the jade plate of fortune in his hand, and now he had completed his breakthrough. You were simply no match for him. Your Dao body had no intention of fighting him and chose to self-destruct directly. If you had brought out the Chaos Clock and the Merit Golden Lotus, you should have been able to withstand a few moves. But the Dao body and the main body's divine soul were the same. You were just afraid that he would drag your divine soul back to the great desolate past again. At that time, you wouldn't even be able to escape if you wanted to. Do you think I have no way to deal with you like this? Old ancestor Hongjun sneered. The power of an Immortal Venerable was beyond imagination. Even if you hid to the ends of the earth, it would be useless. Even if you were a demon star and he couldn't deduce your location, he could still forcibly find you. And your main body immediately rushed towards the trial grounds of Tianwu Immortal Lord. Now there was only one spot left. Even if old ancestor Hongjun didn't break through, you would still go to get this spot. If he had broken through, your situation would undoubtedly be much more dangerous. Now it just depended on whether you could obtain the final legacy. Otherwise, you would sooner or later die at the hands of old ancestor Hongjun. Only by obtaining the final legacy would there be a glimmer of hope. Due to Xiao Shu Immortal King entering the final stage, Wu City was now exceptionally lively. After your main body arrived, it did not stay in Wu City. Instead, it directly entered the Immortal Venerable trial grounds. The trial grounds were located within a huge stone hall. The stone hall covered tens of thousands of miles. Standing before it, you were smaller than an ant. Above the stone hall, several dark characters were inscribed, Tianwu Divine Hall. You entered the Tianwu Divine Hall, and inside there were many smaller palaces. This, small, was only relative to the Tianwu Divine Hall. To you, it was still a giant's palace. You arrived at the first stage, the comprehension ability stage's trial palace. A black-robed Dopeng Ren was actually standing in front of the palace gate. He glanced at you indifferently and then stepped inside. Dopeng Ren, a hint of surprise flashed in your heart. The person who delivered the Doomsday Altar to Golden Hall Immortal Emperor and told him that Fei Peng was an unawakened Emperor star was also a Dopeng Ren. However, there were many people in this world who wore cloaks. It couldn't be such a coincidence, could it? The Dopeng Ren entered the comprehension ability stage, and looking at the familiar trial content, a hint of determination flashed in his eyes. Almost no one knew that he was a rebirth Emperor star. This cloak was an innate spiritual treasure that could block the doomsday altar's sensing of Emperor stars. In his previous life, he was only a hair's breadth away from obtaining the legacy of Tian Wu Immortal Lord. If not for slightly bad luck, he would never have lost. In this life, he would definitely reclaim everything he had lost. As for this last spot, it was certainly within his grasp. Even a defeated subordinate like Xiaoshu Immortal King could obtain a spot. Who could compete with him? At this moment, you also stepped into the hall of the comprehension ability stage. A humanoid monster with a human face, a bird's body, and 6 claws on its 2 legs appeared before you. This was the appearance of the ancient witch clan. Moreover, only those who had evolved to an extremely high level could possess this appearance. With a wave of his claw, 10 stone tablets engraved with different divine laws appeared before you. Wu Tuo, the human-faced bird-bodied examiner, said to you, I am the examiner Wu Tuo. These are 10 random divine laws. I will determine your score based on the difficulty of the divine laws and the time it takes you to comprehend them. Begin. You glanced over them, and 3 of the divine laws were ones you had already comprehended. The remaining 7, for someone like you who possessed the king of divine laws, were also extremely simple. Wasn't this just giving you free points? 507. Tian Wu Daojing, against the Sky Age. Perfect clearance, the fragments of the jade butterfly of fortune. You used infinite enlightenment once, and instantly comprehended all 7 divine laws. Then, you told Wu Tuo, who had a human face and bird body, that you had comprehended everything. Wu Tuo was greatly surprised and asked you to demonstrate the profundities of the divine laws. After you demonstrated all the profundities of the 10 divine laws, he looked at you deeply and gave you an A+ evaluation. If it weren't for the fact that the highest evaluation was only A+, your evaluation could have been even higher given your comprehension speed. Wu Tuo said, although the evaluation limit is only A+, the reward for you will be based on your true performance, far exceeding the A+ level. Subsequently, with a wave of his hand, a Tao scripture appeared in your mind. Wu Tuo said, this is the complete Heavenly Witch Tao scripture, which contains all the cultivation methods and experiences of Tian Wu Immortal Lord throughout his life. Even if the parts about Tao principles require self-comprehension, having this Heavenly Witch Tao scripture can help you avoid many detours. You briefly checked the Heavenly Witch Tao scripture, and it contained cultivation methods from mortal to immortal Venerable 8th stage. This proved that Tian Wu Immortal Lord had once reached the immortal Venerable 8th stage. Among the many immortal venerables in the Chaos Realm, this was already a top-tier existence. How could he also perish? You found it hard to imagine who could have killed him. After receiving your score, you left the comprehension ability trial and proceeded to the next trial, the cultivation trial. As soon as you stepped into the cultivation trial's gate, Dopeng Ren followed closely behind. He saw your retreating figure entering the cultivation trial. Isn't that the white-clothed youth from earlier? You were behind him just now, entering the comprehension ability trial. Now, you've actually gotten ahead of him and entered the cultivation trial. You should know that he entered the comprehension ability trial according to the time from his previous life, and those divine laws were all ones he had already comprehended. He only spent a little time demonstrating the divine laws. It's simply impossible for anyone to be faster than him, right? This person must have given up automatically, seeing that comprehending divine laws was too difficult. After all, there isn't much of a threshold to participate in the Immortal Venerable trial. There are also many people who know they have no hope of obtaining the legacy. They just want to come and see what the Immortal Venerable legacy trial is like. Clearly, this white-clothed youth is one of those people. In his previous life, Dopeng Ren successfully obtained the 12th spot. In this life, his speed far surpassed his previous life. No one understood better how to complete all trials faster than him. After you stepped into the palace of the cultivation trial, you once again saw Wu Tuo, who had a human head and bird body. These Wu Tuo should all be clones, not his true body. Wu Tuo said to you, in this trial, there will be 10 waves of puppets attacking you. Only by passing the 7th wave of puppets can you obtain an A- grade evaluation. Of course, the score is not only based on the puppets you defeat but also on your age. If your age exceeds 10,000 years, for every additional 10,000 years, the overall evaluation will decrease by 1%. If you are 110,000 years old, the overall evaluation will decrease by 10%. And your age is. Wu Tuo told you not to resist, then began to reverse time and check your birth date. You are less than 100 years old. Wu Tuo, with his human face and bird body, fell silent. Isn't this a bit too exaggerated? You said your age is so young, can it give you bonus points? Wu Tuo said, Tian Wu Immortal Lord did not anticipate this situation back then, bonus points are not part of the rules. However, in terms of rewards, you can receive preferential treatment. Soon, 3 supreme immortal Yao beasts appeared and surrounded you. With just a glance, you annihilated them. Then came the second wave, the third wave, the fourth wave. The puppets, cultivation grew higher and higher, but for you, they were all instant kills. The 7th trial already featured Immortal Emperor realm puppets. The 8th trial featured Immortal Emperor 4th stage puppets. The 9th trial featured peak Immortal Emperor puppets. But for you, they were still easily destroyed with a raised hand. Completing the 9th trial would grant an A+ evaluation. And the 10th trial featured 3 half-step Immortal Exalted puppets. Tian Wu Immortal Lord's trial prohibited Immortal Venerables from participating. This 10th trial was used to increase hidden scores. Fortunately, your current strength was at the level of an invincible half-step Immortal Exalted. Although these 3 half-step Immortal Exalted puppets made you exert some effort, you still dismantled them. Wu Tuo praised, to possess the strength of an invincible half-step Immortal Exalted at less than 100 years old is truly an anomaly among anomalies. You asked about the reward. Since you performed so well, the reward couldn't be worse than the first trial, right? Wu Tuo said, you perfectly defeated 10 waves of puppets, and your age is so young. I have decided to open all rewards to you, you can choose any one of them. Doing this was equivalent to letting you choose the best reward. With a wave of Wu Tuo's hand, you arrived in a colorful treasure vault. You looked around and saw as many as 7 innate supreme treasures. There was also a long spear whose aura far surpassed innate treasures. This was a chaos spiritual treasure. Wu Tuo said this was called the God-slaying spear, Tian Wu Immortal Lord's primary combat weapon. Besides this chaos spiritual treasure, you also discovered another extremely valuable item. That was a jade creation disc fragments. This jade creation disc fragments was even larger than the one in Hongjun Old Ancestor's hand. Clearly, it was more complete. The jade plate of fortune was a chaos supreme treasure. Even its fragments were of immeasurable value. You were momentarily in a dilemma, choosing between the chaos spiritual treasure God-slaying spear and the jade creation disc fragments. Wu Tuo said you only had 10 breaths to choose. If you didn't choose after 10 breaths, he would randomly pick a treasure for you. Hearing this, you no longer hesitated, you chose the jade creation disc fragments. Although the God-slaying spear was very powerful, it would take a long time even for an immortal venerable to refine a chaos spiritual treasure. With your current cultivation, it was almost impossible to refine it. Even if you could refine it, once it was revealed, it would attract Chang Duo. In other words, it couldn't help you solve the crisis with Hongjun Old Ancestor. As for the jade creation disc fragments, there were hundreds of them. Almost every immortal venerable had one. Even if it was exposed, the probability of it attracting snatching was very low. The complete jade plate of fortune contained 3,000 innate Tao principles. Even a fragment contained dozens of Tao principles. It could help you enter the immortal venerable realm sooner. Of course, if you obtained the ultimate legacy of Tian Wu Immortal Lord, both this God-slaying spear and those 7 innate supreme treasures would be yours. However, you were not 100% confident. After all, many participants in the trial had immortal venerables supporting them from behind. Their starting line was much higher than yours. Therefore, choosing the jade creation disc fragments was a more secure option. 508. 10th World Illusion, DeLong drank the medicine. All 3 levels are passed, who is the last quota? After choosing your reward, you left the cultivation realm and proceeded to the 3rd stage, the spiritual will realm. It was only after you had been in the spiritual will realm for a long time that Dopeng Ren emerged from the cultivation realm. This time, he did not see your figure. He assumed you were most likely trapped in the cultivation realm. He sneered, as expected, he's just making up the numbers. This last spot can only belong to me. Subsequently, he also entered the spiritual will realm. The spiritual will realm, naturally, tests the strength of one's spiritual will. In this stage, one must experience 10 lifetimes of illusions. It is similar to the cultivation realm. The difficulty increases the further one progresses. The scoring rules are also the same. Passing the 7th lifetime or later grants an A- grade evaluation. Age also affects the final score. Soon, the illusion began. In the first life, you were born in a mountain village. Your parents named you Chen or Go. When you reached the age of 6, you awakened. Looking at everything before you, you firmly declared, Chen or Go. No, I am Lu Changsheng. Your parents were very worried about your mental state, thinking you were possessed, and even invited a Taoist priest for you. You shattered the illusion with a single punch. You entered the second life. In this life, you were born in a small town, named Fangyang. You attended a private school and displayed remarkable talent for poetry from a young age, earning widespread renown. Your father took you around, writing poems for people to earn money. When you reached the age of 8, you awakened. You tore up the poetry books and slapped away your money-grubbing father. Afterward, you entered the third life. In this life, your family was well off, your father was the prime minister of the Luo kingdom. After your birth, he named you Gan Luo. He cultivated your debating skills from a young age, and at 12, you traveled to the Fen kingdom, persuading the king of Fen to cede a large territory to the Luo kingdom. Your intelligence and talent were appreciated by the king of Luo, who bestowed upon you the title of High Minister. On the day of the conferment, you suddenly awakened. The eunuch told you to kneel to receive the reward, but not only did you not kneel, you stepped forward, tore up the imperial decree, and slapped the eunuch to death. You entered the fourth life. In this life, you were born in Changshan, named Zhao Long. You practiced martial arts from a young age, excelling in them. At 15, you joined the Zonda army. You fought bravely and were promoted every year. In a battle against the Cao army, the lady and the young lord were trapped deep in enemy territory. Your lord gave you 100 cavalrymen and ordered you to rescue the lady and the young lord. When you were halfway there, you awakened. Although awake, you were unable to leave the illusion. So you took 100 cavalrymen and traveled far away, gradually establishing your own kingdom. When you unified the world, the illusion shattered, and you entered the fifth life. In this life, you also joined the army. Your lord was a ruthless person who would massacre cities at the slightest provocation. Because your second uncle was his trusted subordinate, you were also chosen to be one of his close guards. He often told you that he enjoyed killing in his dreams and that you should not approach him when he was asleep. However, one day, you saw his quilt fall off. You wanted to go forward and pick it up for him. Just then, you awakened. And your lord suddenly opened his eyes and drew his sword, thrusting it at you. You dodged the sword and, in turn, used your long spear to stab your lord to death. Damn it, a soldier's life is also a life. You kicked his corpse away, the illusion shattered, and you entered the sixth life. In this life, you were a dwarf named DeLong, short and dark, but fortunately, you had the skill of selling pancakes, which barely allowed you to make ends meet. You wanted to find a wife, but none of the women in the neighborhood would even look at you. Just when you thought you would be single for life, the town's rich man, Lu, went crazy and insisted on marrying his beautiful maid, Jinlian, to you. Your wife was too enchanting, and within a few years, your health deteriorated. Jinlian also frequently went out, rumored to be having affairs. You sighed, a thought flashing through your mind: don't play high-end if you don't have money. One day, as you lay on your sickbed, Jinlian brought you a bowl of medicine and softly said, DeLong, it's time to take your medicine. Quote. At this moment, you awakened. Drink your ass off. You shattered the medicine bowl with a punch, then pulled out a short knife from under your pillow and stabbed Jinlian to death. Then the seventh life, the eighth life, the ninth life. The further you went, the later you awakened. Even with your manifestation realm spiritual will, passing through was so difficult, let alone for others. Only 1 in 100 of the prodigies participating in the trial grounds could even reach the seventh life. When you arrived at the 10th life, your name was Li Hoayuan. At this point, you were completely unable to distinguish between reality and illusion. You only felt that you had several identities. You often held your head, your face contorted, saying, I can't tell, I really can't tell. Finally, at the age of 35, you began cultivating the sitting forgetting Tao. At 87, when you had cultivated the sitting forgetting Tao to its highest realm, you finally declared, when the false is taken for true, the true is also false. Subsequently, the illusion shattered, and you successfully passed through all the illusions. Wu Tuo said with an awestruck tone, you achieved the best results among all examinees in every stage, you are the most outstanding examinee he has ever seen. Quote. In this stage, he still allowed you to choose one treasure. However, you asked him if he could provide you with some information about the fourth stage. As long as you pass the fourth stage, all treasures will be yours, so why bother choosing? Wu Tuo shook his head, saying that the fourth stage could only be known upon entering, and he could not tell you in advance. However, he could provide you with a treasure that would increase your chances of passing the fourth stage. Subsequently, he took out an immortal king puppet. A puppet that could be destroyed with a flick of a finger could increase your chances of passing the fourth stage. You were somewhat surprised. Wu Tuo said, if you don't want it, then forget it. Quote. You said, yes, 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 of course I want it. Quote. Wu Tuo is the guardian divine being and examiner of the immortal venerable trial grounds. Since he said so, there must be a reason. You carefully put away the immortal king puppet. This was not an insignificant puppet, but rather worth a chaos spirit treasure. When you finished receiving your reward, Do Peng Ren also completed his trial. He only passed the 8th stage but still received an A-minus evaluation. Do Peng Ren burst into laughter. Although his evaluation for this stage was lower, his previous 2 stages were both A+. Especially the first stage, he even received a nearly perfect evaluation, and his overall score, while still A+, had a particularly high hidden score. His comprehensive evaluation might even be A+. When he learned from Wu Tuo that his comprehensive evaluation was indeed A+, he laughed even more wildly. It's settled, the last spot is absolutely settled. 509. The Furious Cloaked Man, Tianao. He is the strongest demon star, everyone gathers. Before Do Peng Ren, there were only 2 A grades. He was the 3rd. Moreover, he was an emperor star with memories from his previous life. As long as he entered the 4th stage, who else but him could claim this immortal venerable legacy? Do Peng Ren, however, didn't notice Wu Tuo looking at him with pity. Just then, the Tian Wu Divine Hall glowed brightly. This indicated that someone had entered the 4th stage. Do Peng Ren remained calm, certain that this person must be him. No, that's not right, he hadn't even claimed his reward yet. Could it be that Wu Tuo, seeing his excellent performance, announced his name in advance? Do Peng Ren quickly claimed his reward and went outside. Then, he was dumbfounded. It wasn't his name listed, but someone named Lu Changsheng. Who was Lu Changsheng? He had no impression of him from his previous life. Soon after, the Tian Wu Divine Hall glowed brightly again, and Do Peng Ren's name also appeared. His name, Tian Hao. Many powerhouses in Wu City, hearing the commotion, rushed to the scene. How could 2 names appear at once, and both be A grade? Many knew Tian Hao. He was an experienced half-step immortal exalted, with profound strength, and was fierce and cunning. Among the crowd, the awakened emperor stars knew that this person was also an emperor star who had lived for an extremely long time. No one knew exactly how long he had lived, because among the awakened emperor stars present, none had lived longer than him. Yet, this Lu Changsheng was unheard of. But his performance was even better than Tian Hao's. All 3 initial stages received an A- grade evaluation. It was impossible for such a person to have been unknown in his previous life. How strange. It was just unknown which of the 2 would obtain the final spot. As everyone was wondering, the name of Do Peng Ren, Tian Hao, gradually dimmed. This meant that Wu Tuo was going to cancel his final spot. No, this is unfair. Do Peng Ren stepped forward and shouted. He was about to explode with rage. After much difficulty, he managed to time it perfectly and achieve an even better result than in his previous life, only to be preempted by someone else. If he had known, he would have come earlier. Do Peng Ren loudly declared, my result is A grade. Although I am the 13th, my ranking can be 4th. Even if you want to cancel a spot, you should cancel the one with the worst ranking among the ones before me. Wu Tuo appeared and said coldly, the spots are given by order of arrival, not by merit. You are the 13th, so there is no spot for you. Tian Hao still wanted to argue, but Wu Tuo casually struck him, sending him flying to who knows where. Tian Hao stood in the chaos void realm of the Tian Wu domain, wiping the blood from the corner of his mouth, his gaze icy as he said, good, 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 Lu Changsheng, is it? Even if you get the spot, you're not invincible. When you come out, I'll send you a big gift. Then, he turned and left. He had too many enemies and couldn't stay there long. Not long after Tian Hao left, a powerful aura descended upon the place. Many people exclaimed, Immortal Venerable. This is definitely an immortal venerable. They didn't expect that even after the final spot was confirmed, it would still alarm an immortal venerable to come. The person who arrived was none other than Ancestral Master Hongjun, who had been searching for you everywhere. He had asked many old friends to help him search for your whereabouts. Upon learning that you had appeared in the Tianwu Immortal Lord's legacy place and even obtained the last spot, he immediately rushed over. He coldly snorted at the crowd, "Do you know who this person is? He is the strongest devil star. As far as this old ancestor knows, he has sacrificed no less than 10 emperor stars." People from the various immortal venerable forces were greatly astonished. The strongest devil star had only emerged for a dozen or 20 years. Yet, he had sacrificed so many emperor stars. On average, he sacrificed one every year or two. Were those emperor stars fools? Everyone found it unbelievable. They were all disciples of immortal venerable forces and knew that the characteristic of emperor stars in this epoch was rebirth. To be sacrificed, they must be awakened emperor stars. Otherwise, if an emperor star was killed prematurely, its star fate would only transfer to someone else. Awakened emperor stars were all people who had undergone rebirth, so how could they die so easily? However, these words came from the mouth of an immortal venerable, and an immortal venerable's prestige extended throughout the chaos realm, so there was no need for him to deceive these juniors. Could it be that this Lu Changsheng was the person closest to the child of extinction in the future? Or was he the child of extinction? He just failed. Ultimately, he failed to become an immortal emperor. However, the possibility of him being the child of extinction was very small. Immortal emperors generally emerged from either the child of extinction or the epic child. If the child of extinction failed, then the epic child must have won. If the epic child became an immortal emperor, it would be impossible for other emperor stars to still have a chance at rebirth. But, if the child of extinction became an immortal emperor, these emperor stars also wouldn't have a chance at rebirth, would they? Their immortal venerable ancestral masters or masters had not told them who would ultimately become the immortal emperor in the future. This was the biggest mystery. In many previous epochs, by the end of the epoch, people could curry favor in advance, because the future would influence the past. Unlike this epoch, there was no hint whatsoever as to who the immortal emperor would be. And all the emperor stars had undergone rebirth. Xiao Shu Immortal King was also among the crowd. Someone asked him if he had any impression of this Lu Changsheng. Xiao Shu Immortal King shook his head. He said that this person had never appeared in his previous life. Then that's strange. Did this person just pop out of a rock? Or did the emperor stars cause a butterfly effect, making this person an anomaly? Regardless of how everyone reacted, you just stayed hidden in the Tianwu Divine Hall. Generally speaking, those who participated in the assessment could only stay in the Tianwu Divine Hall for one day. But since you obtained the spot for the final stage, you enjoyed certain privileges and could stay in the Tianwu Divine Hall indefinitely. No immortal venerable had ever broken into this Tianwu Divine Hall. There were rumors that once, when the 10 Lives Immortal Emperor had just broken through to Immortal Venerable, he was arrogant and tried to break in. Then, he became the current 9 Lives Immortal. Since 9 Lives Immortal became an Immortal Venerable, it was already an ancient Chaos era matter. It was unknown whether this information was true or false. Immortal Venerable Hongjun kept waiting outside, and you deliberately stayed in the Tianwu Divine Hall. Since he wanted to outlast you, then you would keep outlasting him. Let's see who could outlast whom. However, the 12 spots were now filled. Wu Tuo, as the divine being guarding the Immortal Venerable legacy, his duty was to find a successor for the Immortal Venerable, so he couldn't keep giving you the chance to drag it out. He sent messages to the other 11. He told them that they must arrive at the Tianwu Divine Hall within 3 years to participate in the final trial. Otherwise, they would be left behind if they were late. Days passed by. In less than half a year, all the inheritors had arrived. Including you, there were 5 half-step Immortal Exalted, and 6 at the high level or peak of Immortal Emperor. Only Xiao Shu Immortal King had the lowest realm. But then again, his ability to obtain a spot with such a low realm was a testament to his skill. As your most troublesome other self, you never underestimated him. 510. Buddha Hongyi. The conditions for the destruction of the world and the birth of the son of the era. The final level is opened. Open black lens bracket. After everyone was present, Wu Tuo began to check one by one among you, to see if anyone was impersonating or had been tampered with. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. When his powerful strength was revealed, you finally realized that this guardian divine being was also an immortal venerable. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. How Tianwu Immortal Lord managed to make an immortal venerable guard the legacy for so many years is unknown. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Among the crowd were 3 women, and you glanced at one of them, a woman in a light blue long dress. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. This person's name is Hu Yunjiang, and she is not only an emperor star but also a disciple of Yaoqi Jade Mother. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Your last simulation ended with your death at the hands of Yaoqi Jade Mother in Jade Universe Celestial Venerable. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. After entering the final trial grounds, you must definitely take care of her if the opportunity arises. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Besides Hu Yunjiang, you also memorize the auras of everyone else one by one. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Li Huo, Nan Ya, Divine Mother, Ting Yu, Jun Xiao, Xuanlu, Yulianjin, Fa Xian, Bai Yang, Xiao Shu. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Among them, Li Huo, Nan Ya, Divine Mother, and Jun Xiao are all half-step immortal exalted, your formidable opponents. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Xiao Shu, on the other hand, is your other self. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. I wonder if there's a chance to secretly control him in the trial grounds. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Jade Universe Celestial Venerable is not weak among immortal venerables, unless necessary, you don't want to confront him so soon. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. If you can control Immortal Emperor Xiao Shu using the Hua Sheng Ren Fa, that would be ideal. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. After the inspection, Wu Tuo suddenly struck Fa Xian with a palm, and a talisman flew out from his body. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Judging by its structure, it was for self-preservation. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Wu Tuo snorted coldly and said, "Tell your Hongyi Buddha exalted not to play such despicable tricks. Fortunately, my temper has changed a lot, otherwise, I would have directly cancelled your trial qualification." Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Fa Xian's face turned pale. If his trial qualification were truly cancelled, his position in Miavo Zen Monastery would definitely be marginalized. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Fortunately, Immortal Venerable Wu Tuo did not truly hold it against him. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Fa Xian clasped his hands together and quickly said, "Yes." Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Wu Tuo looked at everyone and said coldly, "It's useless for you to play small tricks. This time, I'm sending a trace of your true spirit to the trial grounds." Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Several half-step immortal exalted frowned. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Those immortal emperors, however, were delighted. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. In that case, everyone is on the same starting line, who will emerge victorious is still unknown. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Only Immortal Emperor Xiao Shu's expression remained normal. As a rebirth emperor star, he was already familiar with these things. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. However, due to the Tao Oath and Tianwu Immortal Lord's methods, even though he had been rebirthed, he couldn't reveal a single bit of information. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. As a rebirth, although his realm was the lowest, with the experience from the previous time, his advantage was still immense. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Previously, his biggest threat was Tian Hao, who was also a rebirth. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. But now, that fellow Tian Hao has lost his spot. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Immortal Emperor Xiao Shu's future can be said to be bright. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. At this moment, more than 10 immortal venerables also arrived outside the Tianwu Divine Hall. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Tianwu Immortal Lord is a master at the Immortal Venerable 8th Realm. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. In the beginning of ancient times, he even did something earth-shattering. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. If that matter had succeeded, the current jehu of the myriad realms would have undergone drastic changes. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Therefore, his legacy is also of great value to these immortal venerables. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Apart from you, everyone else, more or less, has the shadow of an immortal venerable behind them. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. It's just unknown who the legacy will fall to. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. If the legacy falls into the hands of a loose cultivator like you, who has no background, it would be a laughingstock. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Of course, many immortal venerables are also interested in the strongest devil star mentioned by Immortal Venerable Hongjun. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. If this person truly sacrificed a double-digit number of emperor stars, as Immortal Venerable Hongjun said. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Then he is probably the most qualified candidate to contend for the child of extinction. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. To give birth to the child of extinction. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. The number of emperor stars only needs to fall below 5 digits. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. At this time, the power representing life in the chaos realm is greatly diminished. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. The child of extinction will be rapidly catalyzed. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. And the conditions for the birth of the epic child are similar. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. The doomsday altar only needs to be fused until only the last 5 remain. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. This fusion will also cause the luck of destruction to greatly decrease. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Therefore, whether it is a demon star or an emperor star, both have the qualifications and ability to cause the other side or their own side to first give birth to the child of extinction or the epic child. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. And these two represent the yin and yang sides of the chaos realm. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Once one side is born, the other side will also be rapidly catalyzed. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. However, the one born first always has a much greater advantage. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. According to the experience of previous epochs, the probability of the one born first becoming an immortal emperor is as high as 75%. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. The one born later only has a 25% chance. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. For these immortal venerables, as long as they don't seek death, they are very likely to survive until the next epoch. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. And interfering with demon stars and emperor stars is obviously extremely risky, a self-destructive act. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Therefore, very few immortal venerables personally participate. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. After all, there have been too many painful lessons in the past. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. So, even if the immortal venerables know that you are the strongest devil star, unless they are already entangled in karma with you, they will not easily attack you. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Inside the Tian Wu Divine Hall, Wu Tuo is giving you his final reminders. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. He said that if this trace of your true spirit dies in the trial grounds, it will disappear forever and cannot be restored. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. True spirit can generally be restored. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Just like a true dragon, if it loses a scale, it can grow back. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. But according to Immortal Venerable Wu Tuo, once this scale is lost, it will never grow back. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. No matter how many more scales the true dragon can grow, it will always be missing one scale. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. What does this mean? Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. This means that everyone's true spirit will forever be missing a trace, never reaching perfection. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. And without a complete innate spirit, one simply cannot break through to the realm of Immortal Venerable. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Everyone present instantly change their expressions upon hearing this. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Only Hu Yunzhang and Immortal Emperor Xiao Shu's expressions remained normal. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. The two of them are rebirth emperor stars and already knew this rule. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Although you didn't change your expression, your face was also solemn. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Normally, you would have a chance to break through to Immortal Venerable in this simulation. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. If you die in the trial grounds, you can only wait for the next simulation. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. However, you have already reached this point. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Regardless of whether you can obtain the Immortal Venerable legacy, you must go in and explore. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. If you can obtain it, that's best. If not, you must at least scout the way for the next simulation. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. The other 9, although their faces were gloomy, ultimately agreed. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. They all had Immortal Venerable masters behind them and had no choice. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Besides, it's already the end of the epic, and given their circumstances, it's very difficult for them to break through to Immortal Venerable on their own. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. If they can't break through to Immortal Venerable, they will eventually die in the epic calamity anyway, so they might as well go in and fight for it. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Not bad. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Wu Tuo nodded in satisfaction and made you all swear a Tao oath not to reveal the assessment content, or else your soul flying away and spirit scattering. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. After you all swore, a special space-time formation appeared on the scene. This was to send you to the trial grounds. Close black lens bracket. 511. The Tianwu territory is about to be destroyed. Can you change your fate? The Wugu tribe is about to collapse. After entering the formation, a trace of everyone's true spirit was stripped away. Then, it was sent into the river of time. Could it be that the trial grounds are not in the current time node? Everyone was somewhat surprised. Everyone's true spirit continuously flowed upstream along the river of time, and soon arrived at the barrier of the Dao Ruins realm, which obstructed the river of time, 500 billion years ago. Even upon arriving here, this transmission force did not stop, but instead entered the Dao Ruins realm and continued to travel. Most of the 12 inheritors on the scene were disciples of Immortal Venerables and knew more or less about the Dao Ruins realm. Seeing this scene, they could only sigh that Tianwu Immortal Lord was indeed immensely powerful. When passing through the Dao Ruins realm, you specifically observed it for a while. However, it was all a blur, making it impossible to see clearly. At this moment, Wu Tuo's voice resounded in your mind. The Dao Ruins realm gathers experts from various epochs, with Immortal Venerables being as common as dirt. With your current strength, do not try to forcibly peak. Upon hearing this, your heart jolted, and you allowed the transmission force to carry this trace of true spirit to an even more ancient era. It wasn't until you reached the Suigu era, 100 billion years ago, that the powerful transmission force finally stopped. Subsequently, you collectively entered the Tianwu domain, which had not yet been destroyed, 100 billion years ago. Wu Tuo's voice came again. He told you that at this point in time, there was still 100 years until the destruction of the Tianwu domain. You had to do your best to heaven-defyingly change the fate of the Tianwu domain within these 100 years. Whoever contributed the most would be established as the final legacy successor of Tianwu Immortal Lord. Everyone was horrified. In the war that destroyed the Tianwu domain, Tianwu Immortal Lord, an Immortal Venerable 8th Realm expert, had fallen. The karma involved in this was too great. If they dared to heaven-defyingly change fate, their outcome would likely be grim. Only Hu Yunzheng and Xiao Shu Immortal King were very pleased. Both of them had long known the assessment content, and after entering the Tianwu domain, everyone would be at the same starting point. Even a half-step Immortal Exalted would not have too much of an advantage. Wu Tuo then said, because you are people from the future, after entering the Tianwu domain, you will be rejected by the heavenly Tao. Not only will your origin be low, but you will also suffer a life and death tribulation. If you cannot overcome it, it will be considered an early failure. After speaking, a wisp of everyone's true spirit was cast into the Tianwu domain, which was destined to be destroyed in another 100 years. After a long while, you awoke in the wilderness, in the body of a 15-year-old boy. These people from the future, did not undergo reincarnation, but instead adopted the method of possession. You sorted through the memories in your mind. The boy you possessed was born in the Wugu tribe, named Yao Fan. His father was the tribal chief, Yao Man. Currently, Yao Fan knows that the barbarian race has 9 realms, from lowest to highest, blood witch, curse witch, spirit witch, divination witch, sacrifice witch, great witch, earth witch, heavenly witch, god witch. Yao Man was a sacrifice witch of the 5th realm, the strongest person within tens of thousands of miles around. Yao Fan was his only son. From this perspective, your origin seems to be quite extraordinary. A perfect start. However, the truth was not like that. Because Yao Fan's mother, Wu Yurong, was attacked by people from the Blood Hand tribe while pregnant with him, she was severely injured, leading to Yao Fan's premature birth and damaged foundation, making him unable to cultivate witchcraft. This was also the origin of the Fan character in his name. In the witch race, strength is respected. Even though Yao Fan was the son of the tribal chief, due to his inability to cultivate, he was often ridiculed and bullied by his own tribesmen. To make matters worse, his father, Yao Man, regarded him as a disgrace, and his mother, Wu Yurong, who had suffered from ailments due to her pregnancy with him, regarded him as inauspicious. Both neglected him. This time, Yao Fan was beaten to death by his peers. Perhaps it was because he hadn't been discovered for too long that your true spirit was able to possess him. Looking at it this way, it was not a perfect start at all, but rather a catastrophic one. Perhaps that cheap old man even wished you would die sooner. The longer you lived, the more he lost face. This was completely different from the filial piety you encountered after rebirth and reincarnation in the tribulation of rebirth. Moreover, this death was also quite suspicious. It was Mu Zhuang's lackeys who laid hands on you. It was probably Mu Zhuang who instigated it from behind. Mu Zhuang was an adopted son of Yao Man with good aptitude. Not only did he enjoy all the resources that should have belonged to Yao Fan, but his mother, Wu Yurong, and elder sister, Yao Yu, also doted on him immensely. At home, he seemed more like Yao Man's biological son, while Yao Fan seemed like the one who was picked up. Since the father is not benevolent, the son need not be filial. As the one who possessed him, you will deal with the grievances on Yao Fan's behalf when the time comes. Currently, you have a more important matter to attend to. Your reward from the spiritual will view was an immortal king puppet that could be brought to the trial grounds. In the early stages, that would be equivalent to your golden finger. Wu Tuo couldn't possibly be so careless as to not send it to you, could he? Upon careful sensing, you discovered that the immortal king puppet had indeed also come to the past Tianwu domain. It was in the void realm, several million miles away. For an immortal king puppet, a single thought could bring it to the Wugu tribe. However, you found that although it could be used, there were also restrictions. It could only be used once every 3 years. You knew that this should be considered a balancing measure by Wu Tuo. After all, you 12 trial participants could only stay here for 100 years. It is estimated that half of the people, let alone breakthrough to Immortal King, might not even touch the threshold of Immortal King. If you had an Immortal King puppet that could rampage in the early stages, the impact on the trial results would be too great. You originally wanted to overthrow the Wugu tribe, seize its resources, and find a place to go into seclusion. Since it can only be used once every 3 years, you definitely cannot waste such a precious opportunity on a mere Wugu tribe. You had the Immortal King puppet seize the Guifang tribe, the strongest tribe within several 100,000 miles. Then, you had it bring the resources back and give them to you. With these things, you will not have to worry about resources for a short time. As for being unable to cultivate witchcraft, you are not worried about this. With your heaven-defying comprehension ability, you can easily solve the problem of your innate foundation deficiency and allow you to embark on the path of cultivation again. Soon, you use the witchcraft medicine of the Guifang tribe to concoct a pot of divine liquid. After soaking in it for 3 days, your entire being underwent a world-shaking transformation. Not only did it complete your foundation, but it also further improved your aptitude. Next, it was time for the cultivation method. 512. The Heavenly Witch Battle Body, counter-killing the enemy. Breaking through 3 realms in a row, brazenly breaking off relations. You have the complete Heavenly Witch Tao scripture in your mind. It encompasses everything Tian Wu Immortal Lord learned in his life. Therefore, you have no lack of cultivation techniques. Since there is only 100 years, you prioritize the cultivation technique that can be mastered fastest. Ultimately, you chose the Tian Wu Battle Body. It is a body-refining divine cultivation technique, with a total of 15 layers, and can be cultivated up to the Immortal Venerable realm. What you value about it is that it is similar to your former profound immortal body. You only need to absorb resources to quickly become stronger. 10 days later, your physical body absorbed hundreds of witch stones, and your Tianwu battle body successfully broke through the first layer. Your strength is comparable to a blood witch of the first realm. Soon after your breakthrough, you intended to continue cultivating. The few people who previously beat Yao Fan to death appeared again. You had already hidden yourself using your keen intuition. They were somewhat surprised not to find your corpse in the original spot. One of them said, "It seems that brat Yao Fan was dragged away and eaten by a vicious beast. Now boss Mu Zhuang can rest easy." You secretly assessed the strength of the few people. Among these 6, 5 were blood witches, who could enhance their power by burning blood. There was also a curse witch of the second realm, who could kill enemies from a distance with curses. Directly confronting them would definitely be unwise. But letting them return like this, you were unwilling. So, on their way back, you lured several powerful vicious beasts. When they were exhausted, injured, and finally drove the vicious beasts away, you suddenly appeared and twisted the neck of the curse witch, who posed the greatest threat to you. The others, seeing that you were still alive and had greatly increased in strength, were scared, soul flying away and spirit scattering. Weren't you a cripple who couldn't cultivate? How do you suddenly possess such strength? Could it be that after death, you were refined into a corpse puppet by a spirit witch of the third realm? You tied them up and interrogated them one by one. After 7 rattan whips in your hand broke, you finally got all the answers you wanted. This action targeting Yao Fan was indeed instigated by Mu Zhuang. However, he was not jealous that Yao Fan was Yao Man's true son. Instead, he wanted to pin your death on the nearby Baizi tribe. If he could provoke a large battle between the two tribes, the Blood Hand tribe could reap the benefits. That's right, this Mu Zhuang was a spy from the Blood Hand tribe. Although he was adopted by Yao Man from a young age, he was an ungrateful wretch. Everything he showed in the Wu Jiyu tribe must have been a pretense. You wonder what expressions Yao Fan's parents and elder sister would have if they knew Mu Zhuang had been deceiving them all this time. However, you don't have the energy to focus on that now. Anyway, for you, neither side is good, so let them fight among themselves. Your most urgent task now is to quickly improve your strength and gain the power to protect yourself. You moved to another location and continued your secluded cultivation. Meanwhile, outside, Yao Fan's father and mother were frantically searching for him. It was only after you had been missing for half a month that they remembered they had a son. They searched frantically everywhere but found nothing. At this point, Yao Fan's father and mother felt a little regret. Had they been too harsh on him before, causing him to be utterly disappointed with this family, leading him to run away. Your elder sister, Yao Yu, came to the place where you used to live. Seeing how simple it was, she couldn't help but cover her face and weep bitterly. They had been too lacking in concern for you before. As the clan chief's son, you lived a life worse than that of an ordinary tribesman. Unfortunately, there is no medicine for regret in this world, and it is impossible for you to go back. Let them suffer and struggle for a while first, then you can send them all to hell. A month later, you absorbed over 1,000 witch stones. You successfully broke through the second layer of the Tianwu battle body. Your strength is comparable to a curse witch. At this time, the commotion from your breakthrough was not small, alarming Wu Zi, the leader of the nearby Baizi tribe. When Wu Zi arrived and saw that you were actually the son of the Wu Jiyu tribe leader, he was very surprised. Weren't you unable to cultivate? You said that you were unable to cultivate because you were framed by a tribal spy. Now you have completed your foundation, but since your parents do not like you, you do not intend to return to the Wu Jiyu tribe. You have been drifting outside for a long time, and if Wu Zi does not abandon you, you are willing to acknowledge him as your foster father. Wu Zi pondered for a moment and agreed, but he wanted you to publicly sever ties with your parents. You said that this was natural, and since Yao Yu and Mu Zhuang were about to get married, you would give them a grand gift. On the day of their wedding, you had an envoy from the Baizi tribe deliver a letter of severance of relations written by you. Of course, it wasn't a blood letter, you just used a piece of black coal to write it. But the handwriting was Yao Fan's handwriting. This letter of severance of relations undoubtedly caused Yao Man, who always valued his face the most, to lose great face. He slammed the table and angrily rebuked, "Why didn't that rebellious son die outside? How dare he sever ties? Who gave him the guts?" Wu Yurong also cursed, saying that they should not have given birth to you in the first place. The wedding ended hastily after all. Afterward, Mu Zhuang, feeling very wronged, added fuel to the fire. He said that it was all because of his appearance that the harmony of your family was destroyed. Yao Yu quickly comforted him. She said that Yao Fan had always been muddle-headed and probably didn't even realize he was being used as a pawn by the people of the Baizi tribe. Didn't his family just abuse him a little? Why couldn't he forgive his family? Mu Zhuang held Yao Yu's hand and said affectionately, "She is still smart and generous, I will definitely give her a happy life in the future." Another month passed. The Baizi tribe held its triennial tribal competition. In this tribal competition, you suppressed all heroes and won first place, gaining many admirers. The news reached the Wu Jiyu tribe, infuriating Yao Man, who smashed many more precious porcelain items. That rebellious son's success today, wasn't it cultivated by his suppressive education? As a result, not only was he ungrateful to his father, but he also pretended to be a good-for-nothing at home, only to become a genius elsewhere. Damn it, truly despicable. 513. A woman must be castrated before she grows up. 5th level of combat body, continuous backstabs. Time flowed on, and another half a year passed in a flash. Your Tianwu battle body, having consumed hundreds of thousands of witch stones, finally achieved a breakthrough to the 4th layer. Your strength is equivalent to a 4th realm divination witch. A divination witch is skilled in divination and can predict good and bad fortune. The Tianwu battle body also possesses a corresponding danger perception ability, allowing you to avoid some dangers in advance. Of course, you also have the Great Luo Cave Sight Art. This further enhances your life-saving abilities. Next, as long as you achieve a breakthrough to the 5th layer of the Tianwu battle body, you will be one of the top experts within tens of thousands of miles. You can stand shoulder to shoulder with the leaders of the Blood Hand, Baizi, and Wu Jiyu tribes. But just as you were cultivating diligently, Wu Zi suddenly came to find you. You are his adopted son. He came this time to propose a marriage for you, hoping that you could become even closer through marriage. The person he was proposing for you was not his daughter, he didn't have a daughter himself. Instead, it was his youngest sister. His sister is only 3,000 years older than you. Seeing your expression was not very good, he quickly tried to persuade you, saying that there are benefits to an older woman. As the saying goes, a woman 3 years older brings golden bricks, and a woman 3,000 years older joins the ranks of immortals. Although his sister might be a bit wild, she could provide you with a lot of help. You said you needed a year to consider. Seeing you relent, Wu Zi didn't push too hard. He gave you a few more gifts and then left. You secretly sent people to inquire about what was going on. Even if they wanted to bind you, a genius, through marriage, it would usually be with someone in the same age group, right? Isn't being 3,000 years older a bit too outrageous? Soon, you found out. It turned out that Wu Zi's sister, Wu Xingyan, coveted your handsomeness and specifically asked him to come. Moreover, this Wu Xingyan seems to be secretly cultivating a demonic technique of yin nourishing and yang replenishing. Very good, this adoptive father's family also has a path to their own demise. In this day and age, it's really not easy to find a reliable father. News also came from Mu Zhuang, whom you had sent people to monitor closely. Mu Zhuang is still in the Curse Witch realm. In order to quickly catch up with your cultivation and avoid being ridiculed, he is secretly searching for various evil methods for rapid breakthroughs. With a thought, you devised a cultivation technique and had your subordinates deliver it to him. This cultivation technique allows for rapid breakthroughs, but the price is mandatory self-castration. It remains to be seen if Mu Zhuang has the guts to do it. Not long after it was sent, news of Mu Zhuang's breakthrough came. Mu Zhuang's breakthrough helped Yao Man regain some face. He held a grand banquet, declaring that Mu Zhuang was the true genius. That night, Yao Yu was also very happy. She specifically took a bath, wanting to reward him. However, Mu Zhuang turned his back to her and completely ignored her. Usually, at this time, Mu Zhuang would be incredibly excited. Why was he so calm today? It was as if he had become a different person. Yao Yu was puzzled, but since Mu Zhuang refused, she had no choice. A year passed quickly. You consumed millions of witch stones and finally achieved a breakthrough to the 5th layer of the Tianwu battle body. Your strength is comparable to a sacrificial witch. At this point, 1/3 of the witch stones plundered from the Guifeng tribe had been consumed by you. However, the things plundered by the immortal king puppet from the Guifeng tribe were not only witch stones but also other resources. These can also be consumed by your Tianwu battle body. At least they can help you achieve a breakthrough of 2 more realms. Of course, consuming witch stones is currently the fastest method. This is also why you primarily consumed witch stones. The Immortal King puppet can be activated again in about half a year. At that time, another wave of plunder can be carried out. Therefore, there's no need to worry about witch stones at all. And during this year, Mu Zhuang consistently did not share a bed with Yao Yu. Yao Yu grew increasingly suspicious. One night, under the moonlight, she reached down and discovered that Mu Zhuang had become a eunuch at some point. She was dumbfounded. So, this was the reason Mu Zhuang refused to share a bed. The crucial thing was that Mu Zhuang had become a eunuch. What about her future intimate life? Wouldn't she have to live as a widow? Yao Yu's heart filled with sorrow, and tears streamed down her face. Mu Zhuang, awakened by her, stood before her at some point, looking at her coldly, and said, "You found out." Yao Yu, relying on being Yao Man's daughter, cursed at Mu Zhuang. "Bastard, didn't you promise to give me happiness?" Mu Zhuang gripped her neck, his face twisted, and said, "Aren't you happy, huh?" Mu Zhuang only let go after she fainted from being choked. In the following days, Yao Yu did not appear in public. When people asked, Mu Zhuang merely said that she was unwell and recuperating. However, neighbors nearby occasionally heard thump, thump, thump sounds coming from his courtyard in the middle of the night. Due to Mu Zhuang's status, they didn't dare to ask too many questions. When this news reached Yao's mother, Wu Yurong, she secretly went to investigate in the middle of the night, only to find that Mu Zhuang was hitting her beloved daughter like a sandbag. No wonder there were thump, thump, thump sounds. Wu Yurong, with red eyes, stepped forward and said, "Stop it, you beast." Wu Yurong never expected that after raising him like her own son for so many years and even marrying her daughter to him, she still raised an ingrate. Seeing Wu Yurong appear, Mu Zhuang seemed to have anticipated it. He activated a formation, directly trapping her. Wu Yurong shrieked, "Why? Why are you doing this?" Mu Zhuang laughed wildly, "You were very kind to me, but who told me I was from the Blood Hand tribe? My biological parents died at your hands. Everything I've done is for revenge against you. Including your son, I also plotted to get rid of him. I originally wanted to kill him, but I didn't expect him to escape." Wu Yurong was utterly despairing, filled with regret. The kindness of raising him, after all, could not outweigh the kindness of birth. They went to great lengths to raise someone else's son and mistreated their own son, they deserved this retribution. A few days later, news suddenly came from the Wu Jiyu tribe. Mu Zhuang, the adopted son of the tribal leader Yao Man, poisoned and severely injured the tribal high-ranking officials. Then, working from the inside out, he attracted experts from the Blood Hand tribe and annihilated the Wu Jiyu tribe. It was said that when the Wu Jiyu tribe was annihilated, everyone cursed the leader Yao Man for being blind and foolish, sending away a true genius and welcoming an ingrate. He was a person deserving of 10,000 deaths. You didn't expect the Wu Jiyu tribe to be annihilated so quickly. At this time, the 1-year period had arrived. Wu Zi asked you, his adopted son, how you had considered the marriage proposal. As long as you marry his younger sister, you will truly be a family from now on, and the Blood Hand tribe wouldn't dare to do anything to you. You sighed slightly, "Oh well, Mu Zhuang annihilated the Wu Jiyu tribe, so you will annihilate the Bai Zi tribe then." 514. The death of Yao Man, the destruction of Wu Jiyu. The absolute overlord, the Yu relic. You ruthlessly attacked Wu Zi. Your strength astonished him. He cursed, "Damn, you're a ingrate too. This small area of tens of thousands of miles, is it a den of ingrates?" You coldly snorted, stating that you had never received any benefits from him, nor did he have any nurturing grace towards you, instead, he wanted to devour you completely. Your attack on him was entirely his doing, you couldn't be blamed. Wu Zi, like Yao Man, was also a master of the realm of sacrificial sorcery, capable of summoning ancestral heroes to possess him. Even if he summoned the ancestral hero Bai Zi, he only managed to hold on for a little longer before being completely slain by you. Afterward, you conducted a major purge of the Bai Zi tribe. Anyone unwilling to submit was summarily executed by you. Wu Xingyan expressed willingness to submit. She was willing to do anything. But you did not accept and killed her anyway. Thus, with an iron fist, you became the new leader of the Bai Zi tribe. The Blood Hand tribe, which had just annihilated the Wu Jiyu tribe with Mu Zhuang's help, was greatly shocked upon hearing this news. Your strength increased too quickly. It was simply unprecedented. Kai Ren, the leader of the Blood Hand tribe, believed that you would surely want to attack the Blood Hand tribe to avenge the Wu Jiyu tribe. Therefore, he extensively fortified his defenses, guarding against your attack. Unfortunately, you had no intention of seeking revenge. Even if the Blood Hand tribe had not annihilated the Wu Jiyu tribe, you would have annihilated the Wu Jiyu tribe sooner or later. Among the Blood Hand, Bai Zi, and Wu Jiyu tribes, Wugu had almost become the doomed tribe. Who caused this situation? That question should be directed to the tribal leader, Yao Man. Yao Man was barely alive at this point, and he finally realized the magnitude of his mistake. He felt he had wronged his biological son too much and was ashamed to face you. Finally, he used self-detonation to create a breach in the Blood Hand tribe's prison, sending his daughter, Yao Yu, out. After Yao Yu escaped to safety, she came to the Bai Zi tribe and knelt. Her eyes were bloodshot, and after learning how much Yao Fan had suffered over the years, the self-reproach within her nearly drowned her. She continuously kowtowed, saying that no matter how much you hated her parents and her, the other people in the tribe were ultimately innocent, and she hoped you could come to their rescue. Your expression was indifferent, and you paid no attention. No, she had been kowtowing for several days straight. If you let her continue, she would master the Iron Head skill. You came before her and coldly said, "If you want me to act, you must die." This fool, as Mu Zhuang's accomplice, had often bullied Yao Fan in the past. She was one of Yao Fan's resentments before his death. Naturally, she also needed to be dealt with. Yao Yu was stunned for a moment. Then, she resolutely picked up a sword and committed suicide. It seemed that this ordeal had significantly raised her ideological awareness. Very well, then I shall go and save the Wu Jiyu tribe. You sent your army towards the Wu Jiyu tribe, but you yourself went to the Blood Hand tribe. When the Blood Hand tribe thought they would have a decisive battle with you on the Wu Jiyu tribe's territory, they never expected their home in the rear to be raided by you. Kai Ren, the leader, was furious. He immediately massacred all remaining people of the Wu Jiyu tribe. Only then did you leisurely appear. Bai Zi, Blood Hand, and Wugu, these three tribes were old rivals in this region. Now Wugu has been eliminated from the game. 515. Yuanhua Old Demon, a humanoid condemner. The first eliminated person, the 7th level of the Heavenly Witch battle body. You haven't heard of the Yu clan, so you don't know what kind of tribe it is. But being able to leave behind a treasure, they must have had some strength. It's just that the distance from your current location is really too far, over 100 million li away. If you encounter any dangers on the way, you might just kick the bucket. You are still in the low-key development phase, so there's no need to rush. Besides, it's still unknown whether this treasure map is real or fake. Even if it's real, the treasure might have already been taken. There's even less need for you to set off. However, even if you don't set off to search for treasure, you won't stay here. Your reputation here is too great, and your experience of rising like a comet would definitely arouse suspicion if it reached the ears of other trial takers. Therefore, you still need to change your identity and location to continue your secluded cultivation. 2 months later, you arrived at the largest city nearby, Yuan City. As the saying goes, the greatest hermits hide in plain sight. Living here is much better than living in the wilderness. When you have nothing to do, you can even listen to music in a brothel. Of course, here it's not called a brothel, it's usually called a wulu. You bought a large courtyard. You decided to stay here for the next few years. Several months later, the 3-year period was up, and the Immortal King puppet could act again. You had already found out in Yuan City that there was a tribe named Woan 6 million li to the southeast. The strongest among the previous Gui Feng tribe was a 7th realm Earth Witch. The Woan tribe, however, had an 8th realm Heavenly Witch presiding over it. Its overall strength was even stronger than that of the previous Gui Feng tribe. The Immortal King puppet has limited action time, so it's it. As soon as you made your decision, the Immortal King puppet immediately set off towards the Woan tribe. The so-called 8th realm Heavenly Witch was only equivalent to an ancestor immortal in later generations. Before an Immortal King, there was no power to resist at all. The Woan tribe was quickly plundered empty by you. The news spread, shaking many tribes. 3 years ago, the powerful Gui Feng tribe was robbed. And this year, the even stronger Woan tribe also suffered a cruel fate. It is said that the person who acted was incredibly powerful, and the high-ranking officials of both major tribes had no power to resist. It is very likely the same person. Could it be a god witch or an existence above that? But why would such a big shot do something like robbery? The things they robbed wouldn't be of much use to them, would they? Everyone was puzzled, but they still united and sought help from the Gonggong ancient country. The Tianwu domain was ruled by a total of 12 powerful ancient countries. Gonggong ancient country was one of them. This territory was nominally still the domain of the Gonggong ancient country. They collected benefits from them every year, so they couldn't just ignore it when something happened, could they? Soon, the Gonggong ancient country dispatched a god witch to investigate. It was finally determined that it was Yuanhua Old Demon, a god witch on the Gonggong ancient country's wanted list, who was circulating here. Then, there was no follow-up. After all, Yuanhua Old Demon had always been on the wanted list. They had already put him on the wanted list, what else could they do? The tribes were helpless, only hoping that Yuanhua Old Demon would not cause any more trouble. Yuanhua Old Demon, hiding in the dark, looked depressed. Damn it, the officials gave him another crime. He did sacrifice a medium-sized city to refine the 10,000 souls banner back then. That incident was indeed done by him, and it was the reason he was on the wanted list. But after so many years, he already had dozens more crimes on his record. Wherever he went, if a major case occurred, the crime would be pinned on him. He was almost like a human conviction device. The key was that he was infamous. If he said he didn't do it, no one would believe him. Since the Gonggong ancient country was playing like this, then don't blame him for really going all out. The souls in his 10,000 souls banner were almost depleted. Isn't there a Yuan city nearby? It's just right to sacrifice it. Of course, it's definitely not now. Yuan city has several 8th realm heavenly witches. And there's a protective formation. He has to wait until their vigilance drops a bit before acting. 1 year later, after devouring a massive amount of resources, you successfully break through the 6th layer of the Tianwu battle body. Your strength is comparable to a 6th realm Great Witch. A Great Witch is an existence that can initially harness the power of the rules of heaven and earth. In Yuan City, they are also rare experts. Among the entire Yuan City's population of over 1 million, there are only 200 to 300 Great Witches. If your strength were to spread, many envoys would immediately come to visit, inviting you to be an honored guest. At this time, the trial had been going on for 7 years. The true spirit clones of the 12 trial takers had all integrated into the Tianwu domain. In the outside world, one could also sense what was happening in the trial. Of course, only one's own true spirit could be sensed. You don't know if the strength of your true spirit clone can rank first among everyone. Even if there are 2 rebirth individuals, you have the immortal king puppet as your golden finger. Even if it can't rank first, you believe it can rank in the top 3. Your main body looked up at the others. Everyone showed no signs of joy or sorrow, making it impossible to see anything unusual. However, at this moment, Immortal Emperor Bai Yong suddenly trembled, his face turning ugly. The next moment, Wu Tuo said, "Trial taker Bai Yong, your true spirit clone has died. Your assessment ends here." After speaking, he waved his hand, and the figure of Immortal Emperor Bai Yong disappeared into the formation of the main hall. The others in the arena also opened their eyes. To enter the final stage, one must achieve an overall A rating in cultivation, comprehension ability, and mental will. Such individuals are extremely rare in the Chaos realm. Unexpectedly, someone was eliminated in only the 7th year. It's unknown whether Bai Yong courted death himself or was targeted by other trial takers. Everyone is in a competitive relationship. With one less competitor, the probability of winning naturally increases. If only one person remains, the winner will be determined in advance. Seeing Bai Yong eliminated, the true spirit clones of everyone else undoubtedly acted much more cautiously. You also stayed low-key in Yuan City, not running around everywhere. Yuan City is the strongest city within a radius of 10 million li. Safety is guaranteed. Besides, you usually disguise yourself as a wood-carving shop owner. You believe that you won't encounter any danger here. Even if someone has ill intentions, you have the strength of a great witch and can solve most problems. Just like that, another 2 years passed. You break through the 7th layer of the Tianwu battle body. Your strength is comparable to a 7th realm Earth Witch. An Earth Witch controls the power of the Earth. As long as they are on the ground and at low altitude, their strength will greatly increase. 516. I want to slay demons and defend the way, the 8th level of combat body. Bloodline reverts to the ancestral lineage, the Prince of Tianwu. The Tianwu battle body is a body-refining cultivation technique, and it doesn't have such restrictions. It can display immense combat power whether at low or high altitudes. Your safety factor has ascended to another level. The 3-year period has arrived again. This time, see which tribe you want the Immortal King Puppet to raid. Just as you were about to use the Immortal King Puppet, the Great Luo Cave site art frantically warned you. When you kept it unused, it returned to normal. What does this mean? Is there a bloody disaster coming soon? You decide not to use it for now, and wait a bit longer. A few more days passed. The sky suddenly darkened. A gigantic black banner shrouded the entire sky above Yuan City. It was as if dark clouds were pressing down. Inside, many vengeful spirits, accompanied by wailing and howling, surged downwards. Many people exclaimed, "This is Yuanhua Old Demon's 10,000 Souls banner." Yuanhua Old Demon not only plundered the Guifang tribe and the Woan tribe, but now he even wants to massacre the city. Unfortunately, he is a 9th realm god witch. Yuan City simply has no one who can resist him. Some people wanted to escape. But under the 10,000 Souls banner, there was no escape route at all. Everyone, we can only fight with all we have, otherwise we will all die here today. An 8th realm heavenly witch stood out and shouted loudly. One after another, many experts from Yuan City flew out, charging towards Yuanhua Old Demon. Yuanhua Old Demon sneered, "Ants trying to shake a tree, overestimating yourselves." With just a few moves, he slaughtered all 100+ experts. The remaining few, who had slipped through, were also singled out and killed by him. Of course, you were well hidden. With your concealment technique, even Yuanhua Old Demon would find it difficult to discover you. However, letting him massacre the city was not an option. How innocent were the common people? Why should they suffer such slaughter? Ultimately, the greatly virtuous and benevolent you decided to use the Immortal King Puppet to obliterate Yuanhua Old Demon. You didn't do this because the experts of Yuan City were all dead, making it convenient for you to loot. You did it out of compassion for the common people. As soon as the Immortal King Puppet appeared, it startled Yuanhua Old Demon. He stammered, "Say, Senior, spare my life." The Immortal King Puppet said nothing and slapped him to death. Then it collected the 10,000 Souls banner and handed it to you. This time, the opportunity to act was not used for plundering resources, but for eliminating evil and upholding the Tao. But you felt it was worth it. You looked at the devastated Yuan City, where many bandits were looting amidst the chaos. Among them were not a few experts of the Great Witch Realm. You angrily struck out and killed them. "These are all yours." No, these all belong to the common people. Those bandits were truly lawless. After you killed them, to prevent the wealthy merchants in the city from being robbed again, you collected their resources for them. Watching those people thank you tearfully, you waved your hand and said, "You're welcome, these are all things I should do." After collecting the resources, other experts nearby, hearing the news, rushed over. To prevent encountering someone like Yuanhua Old Demon again, you ran away without looking back. These resources are very precious, so you will keep them safe for the people of Yuan City for a while, and return them after you've used them up. A month later, you were far away from Yuan City. 517. 2 major alliances, 20 years. Breakthrough of Wu Jun, Elder Jin Kai. Not long after, the Immortal King Puppet returned, and the 10,000 Souls banner was also filled to the brim. You continued to cultivate in seclusion. 2 years later, you break through the 9th layer of the Tianwu battle body. Reaching this layer was comparable to a god witch, which was equivalent to a supreme immortal in later generations. In the remote area where you currently were, you were considered a top-tier expert. But if placed in the central area of the ancient country, your status would drop significantly, just like the status of a supreme immortal in the 7th or 8th heaven. Over the years, you also found out that above the god witch, there were 4 other realms: Witch Sovereign, Witch King, Witch Emperor, and Witch Venerable. These should correspond to the Immortal Lord, Immortal King, Immortal Emperor, and Immortal Venerable of later generations. Your Tianwu battle body had only reached the 9th layer, so there was still a lot of room for improvement. You wondered what realm Xiaoshu Immortal King was in. Since he could become a prince of the Tianwu ancient country, his strength certainly wouldn't be low. Perhaps he had already reached the Witch Sovereign or Witch King realm. After all, he was a rebirth, so he couldn't be judged by common sense. Therefore, you were still very weak and needed to continue cultivating diligently. Half a year later, at the Tianwu Divine Hall, Immortal Emperor Xuanlu suddenly pleaded with Hu Yunzhang, asking her not to kill his clone, given that his master and Yaoqi Jade Mother were old acquaintances. Hu Yunzhang sneered, "I warned you long ago, why pretend now?" As soon as she finished speaking, Wu Tuo announced that Immortal Emperor Xuanlu had been eliminated. One more person was gone from the formation, leaving only 9. Excluding that unlucky fellow Bai Yang, who died mysteriously. Xiao Shu Immortal King and Hu Yunzhang, these 2 rebirth demon stars, each killed 1 trial participant. The remaining 7 looked at the 2 with a hint of something amiss. These 2 had the experience from their previous lives, it was practically like cheating. If these 2 weren't eliminated first, it would be difficult for the others to compete with them. Soon, Li Huo, Nan Ya, and Divine Mother, the 3 half-step Immortal Exalted, began to recruit. You, being a great individual, were also a key target for their recruitment. You readily agreed. You also couldn't stand this kind of cheating. Although you had an Immortal King puppet, that was your reward for clearing the stage, so it didn't count as cheating. Xiao Shu Immortal King and Hu Yunzhang did nothing, yet just because they were demon stars with memories of their previous lives, they could thrive effortlessly, making you incredibly envious. Only by eliminating both of them could you, fairly, compete with the others. The 7 of you, including yourself, quickly reached an agreement. Before eliminating the 2 demon stars, no one was to attack other trial participants. Xiao Shu Immortal King and Hu Yunzhang also temporarily formed a cooperative relationship to deal with the threat. At this point, the 9 trial participants were divided into 2 factions. Wu Tuo's expression was quite playful. Although these 2 rebirths had every advantage, they were too high profile. With 9 people remaining, they forced the other 7 to form an alliance. This was clearly not a wise action. And a certain person was much more low-key. He was regarded as the strongest devil star and had even snatched Tian Hao's trial seat from the previous life. Yet, he wasn't collectively attacked. Instead, he had been quietly making a fortune and even infiltrated the 7-person team. His teammates, who dared to form an alliance with him, were also a group of talents. Time flew by, and another 3 years passed. In the interim, the Immortal King puppet went and plundered another large tribe. And you, due to your increased strength, also frequently took action, plundering many resources. After devouring these resources, you finally stepped into the 10th layer of the Tianwu battle body, the Witch Sovereign Realm. Your strength surged. It had been 20 years. A full 20 years. Do you know how you spent these 20 years? You cultivated day and night, until today you finally break through to the Witch Sovereign Realm. Moreover, because you cultivated the Tianwu battle body. Upon breakthrough, you immediately possess the strength of a Witch Sovereign peak. If you were to use your ancestral bloodline, you could even fight a Witch King for a short period. From then on, in this Tianwu domain, while not a top-tier expert, you could roam freely and unrestrainedly. You were no longer an ant to be casually crushed. After breakthrough to the Witch Sovereign Realm, you were very happy and went to plunder a few tribes to have some fun. Anyway, the Tianwu domain was going to be destroyed in another 80 years. Why not plunder while you could? Every resource you plundered now increased your chances of becoming a savior. Therefore, you were not plundering for yourself, but for the common people of the Tianwu domain. You plundered gloriously, you plundered greatly. However, this impoverished region, far from the rich areas of the ancient country, could no longer satisfy your appetite. But going to those rich areas, where experts gathered, you were afraid of being accidentally killed. Forget it, it's better to make these tribes here suffer a bit. Although resources were scarce, every little bit added up. You would go to a bigger place once you break through to the Witch King realm. Subsequently, tribes of a certain size in this area, known as the Blackwater Plain, were frequently plundered. The Gonggong ancient country even dispatched several groups of people. But they were basically just going through the motions, the culprit certainly couldn't be caught. It was enough to just appease the higher-ups. Why risk your life for such meager monthly wages? Since the people of the Gonggong ancient country weren't putting in effort. The top tribes of the Blackwater Plain had no choice but to contact their old ancestors. Because this place was relatively barren, many heavenly witches would leave after breakthrough to the Witch Sovereign Realm. But ultimately, their roots were here, so they couldn't just sit idly by. With the return of these experts, your actions became somewhat restricted. You were heartbroken. These people actually stopped you from plundering, they were simply sinners of the heavenly witch race. Fortunately, you had plundered enough during this period to allow you to cultivate in seclusion for some time. Oh, by the way, was there something else you had forgotten? You seemed to have a treasure map, didn't you? You took out the Yu clan's treasure map. You went to the destination marked on the treasure map and wandered around. As a result, you only found a black box. The box had a powerful restriction, and with your current strength, it was difficult to open it without harm. So, you temporarily put it away. A year later, your immortal king puppet took action. Unexpectedly, this time, it returned empty-handed. Because a Witch King middle stage expert had actually returned to the Blackwater Plain. His name was Jinchi, and he was once an elder of the Zeke tribe. That year, to break through to the Immortal Lord realm, he left the Blackwater Plain to seek opportunity elsewhere. Unexpectedly, he returned as a Witch King. Among all those who had left, he was the most successful. 518. Mysterious Compass, Black-Clad Thief. 11th Level Peak, Wu Tuo's Mystery. Time flew by, and 5 years passed in the blink of an eye. After you consumed all the plundered resources, your Tianwu battle body reached the peak of the 10th layer. You had only plundered half of the tribes on the Blackwater Plain, plundering the remaining half would surely allow you to break through to the 11th layer. Elder Jin Kai had not yet left. If you wanted to plunder the remaining half of the tribes, you would first have to deal with him. You fought a battle with him. Even without breaking through to the 11th layer, you could now fight Elder Jin Kai, who was in the middle stage of the Wu Emperor realm, to a draw. With the addition of the Immortal King puppet, you successfully defeated him. You promised him not to plunder the Zeke tribe, and he, in turn, turned a blind eye to the fate of the other tribes. After you once again ruthlessly plundered the various tribes, you took out the black box you had obtained from the treasure trove long ago. With your current strength, you could finally open it with ease. Inside, you discovered a bronze compass. The Yu clan was once the most powerful tribe in the Blackwater Plain. It was said that because of a bronze compass, they were wiped out overnight. Could it be this thing? You examined it carefully, not knowing what material it was made of, nor what grade of Wu artifact it was. But there was an aura on it that shocked your spirit. You had only felt this aura on the transcendent mark in the Statue of Desolate. Could it be another item beyond your comprehension? When faced with something you don't understand, then try refining it first. You attempted to refine it, but suffered a backlash that nearly caused your physical body to collapse. If you hadn't stopped in time, you might have been gone. Then it would truly have become, try and die. You currently cannot refine this item, see if you can refine it when you are stronger. You put it away. You had a faint premonition that this might be the most precious item you had encountered in the Tianwu domain. After all, anything related to the transcendent mark is not simple. The Statue of Desolate, when fully unleashed, also possessed the ability to injure an immortal Venerable. Even if the bronze compass's use is unknown now, it will surely come in handy in the future. A year later, you refined the remaining resources and successfully broke through to the 11th layer of the Tianwu battle body. Your body refining realm was comparable to a Wu Emperor. Your strength had once again greatly increased. Elder Jin Kai of the Zeke tribe had not yet left. You went and suppressed him with a single hand. He was shocked and asked, "Didn't we agree not to invade each other?" You laughed, saying that was merely a delaying tactic, and he actually believed it. You plundered the Zeke tribe clean in front of him. With this, you completed the final puzzle. All the tribes on the Blackwater Plain had not escaped your clutches. Elder Jin Kai regretted it deeply. If he had known this would happen, he would have led his tribe away. Subsequently, you soul-searched Elder Jin Kai. Elder Jin Kai had explored many places in the Gonggong ancient country over the years. His memories gave you a deeper understanding of the various forces in the Gonggong ancient country. The most powerful force in the Gonggong ancient country was undoubtedly the government's power. After all, this was a force personally established by the water god Gonggong. To enter it, the most important factor was bloodline concentration, followed by strength. The higher the bloodline concentration, the greater the importance placed on you, and the higher your position would be. Conversely, if one's strength was very high but their bloodline concentration was insufficient, it would be difficult to achieve great development. This situation was generally quite rare, because those with profound strength could not have low bloodline concentration. Time flew by, and another 8 years quickly passed. During these 8 years, A black-clad bandit appeared in Luoquan Commandery, where the Blackwater Plain was located. He disturbed the various tribes and clans, leaving them no peace. Even the few Wu Emperor forces in Luoquan Commandery were more or less robbed by him. Fortunately, this black-clad bandit didn't stay in Luoquan Commandery for many years. Perhaps he found it too poor, so he went to the neighboring commandery, bringing a small black-clad shock to the neighboring commandery. Finally, someone couldn't bear it and took the lead in organizing a siege. 6 or 7 Wu emperors came to this siege. Unexpectedly, this black-clad bandit's strength was too astonishing, and he forcefully broke through the encirclement. As a result, many Wu emperors now feared him and dared not provoke him. Later, this black-clad bandit robbed a tribe where a Wu emperor was stationed, enraging that Wu emperor, who wanted to make a move against him. Unexpectedly, he suddenly disappeared without a trace. Many people thought he feared the might of the Wu emperor and went into hiding. But they didn't know that he had plundered too many things and needed some time to refine them. 8 years later, with the help of various resources, you broke through to the peak of the 11th layer of the Tian Wu battle body. The 12th layer was comparable to a Wu emperor, and breaking through was not easy. However, even if you haven't officially broken through yet, an ordinary Wu emperor would find it difficult to take you down. If you unleashed the bloodline power of Tian Wu Immortal Lord, you could even defeat him. And the most top-tier experts in the Tian Wu domain now. The 12 bloodline sources are only half-step immortal venerables. In other words, you are not far from the most top-tier combat power. Only 34 years have passed. There are still 66 years left. You believe that you definitely have a chance to reach the same realm as Wu emperors like Gonggong and Zhurong. To achieve this in just 100 years would be astonishing and unprecedented. In the struggle for the legacy, you would also be essentially invincible. However, becoming an immortal venerable, you are not too confident. If you could receive personal instruction from Tian Wu Immortal Lord himself during this period, there might be a slim possibility. But Tian Wu Immortal Lord has already completely died. Most likely, he was also erased in the river of time. Otherwise, you wouldn't have heard any legends about him for so long. The subsequent destructive war was probably just a temporal illusion he left behind. However, although Tian Wu Immortal Lord is no longer here, someone is. That is Immortal Venerable Wu Tuo. Immortal Venerable Wu Tuo lived until later generations. At this point in time, he certainly hasn't died. You have always been very curious about his identity. You don't know if he is a disciple of Tian Wu Immortal Lord, or if one of the 12 bloodline sources changed his name. If it's the latter, finding him would be even more difficult. Your strength has already reached the peak of the Wu Emperor realm, capable of fighting an ordinary Wu Emperor. Next, you will redouble your efforts to strive to become a Wu Emperor as soon as possible. After all, there are 8 other trial participants eyeing you like tigers. Perhaps some of them have a higher realm than you. You need to make further progress to have a sense of security. 519. Old Actor, 12th level of combat body. Trial participants gathered, Wu Shenwei coach. There are still 9 trial participants left. Although 2 factions have formed, with the 2 Imperial Stars in one faction and you and the other 6 in another, communication within the same faction is limited to sharing information. Regarding their own strength, everyone is keeping it very hidden. This is, after all, the most important chip for obtaining the legacy. No one will easily expose it until the last moment. More than a month passed, and Immortal Emperor Li Huo suddenly said that Hu Yunzheng had become the imperial daughter of the Zhu Juyin ancient kingdom. This indicates that the strength and influence of the 2 imperial stars might far exceed everyone else's. Immortal Emperor Tingyu said that this couldn't go on, and everyone should team up to deal with the imperial stars sooner. Fa Xian and Yu also agreed. However, the other 4 remained silent. The Tian Wu domain is too vast, its area no less than the 6th heaven. With everyone scattered across the world, how easy would it be to gather together? Immortal Emperor Nanya said, with our current strength, even if we were to attack them together, it would probably be difficult to kill them, and we would waste precious cultivation time instead. Quote. Divine Mother and Immortal Emperor Jun Shao also nodded, indicating that cultivation was still the priority. Yu curiously asked, I'm already at the 8th realm of Heavenly Witch. How far have you all cultivated after so long? Quote. Everyone fell silent again. Fa Xian praised from the side, this humble monk has only cultivated to Earth Witch. I didn't expect Lu to be so fast, even a realm higher than this humble monk. Quote. Really? Is that true? You were a bit disbelieving. It's been 30 or 40 years, and he's only cultivated to the 7th realm. You felt that Fa Xian was definitely holding back, just like you, deliberately stating a lower realm. Perhaps he had already broken through to which sovereign. The other few did not reveal their realms, but rather marveled at how fast the two of you had progressed. You just watched these old foxes put on a show. Another year passed, and Immortal Emperor Jun Shao suddenly revealed an important piece of news to everyone. He had become the imperial son of the Chengliang ancient kingdom. Everyone's spirits lifted. Immortal Emperor Jun Shao was not a rebirth, yet he managed to follow suit and become an imperial son. Currently, they are all in the same faction, which is definitely good news for everyone. Immortal Emperor Li Huo and Immortal Emperor Nanya exchanged smiles. Within a few years, they also announced that they had become the imperial sons of the Zhejiang ancient kingdom and the Dijiang ancient kingdom, respectively. Now, your faction had 3 imperial sons, overshadowing immortal King Xiaoshu and Hu Yunjiang. And upon hearing this news, you couldn't help but sigh, as expected of the prodigy who can enter the final stage. Each has their own abilities and divine ability. Quote. The bloodline concentration of Tianwu Immortal Lord within your body is only 1%. To reach 1/10, resulting in a qualitative change, it will probably take a very long time. Perhaps your cultivation is too slow. Next, your true spirit clone became even more desperate to seize things. These trial participants are already so strong, you can't afford to fall behind. 10 years passed in a blink of an eye. You finally broke through to the 12th layer of the Tianwu battle body. Your body refining realm is comparable to a Wu Emperor. Your bloodline concentration also reached 1/20th. You only need to double it to reach 1/10th. At that time, it will also produce a qualitative change, greatly increasing your combat power. In these 10 years, Divine Mother also became the imperial daughter of the Gomeng ancient kingdom. At this point, within your faction, the bloodline concentration of the 4 half-step immortal exalted, excluding you, all reached 1/10th. The higher the bloodline concentration, the better their aptitude and the faster their cultivation speed. Moreover, after becoming imperial sons and imperial daughters, they could enjoy a large amount of resources provided by the ancient kingdom, truly winning big. Meanwhile, Immortal Emperor Tingyu and Fa Xian were somewhat dejected. To this day, their bloodline concentration has not met the standard. How can they compete with others? Of course, you are also among those whose bloodline concentration hasn't met the standard. After becoming imperial sons and imperial daughters, information spread throughout the world. If your bloodline concentration reached 1/10th, you would definitely go for assessment and apply to become an imperial son. Because only then can you enjoy the top-tier resources and treatment. Currently, many trial participants believe that you, the strongest devil star, are merely an empty boast, perhaps just lucky. However, you still smiled cheerfully, saying that being happy is the most important thing, and it doesn't matter even if you can't obtain the legacy. Of course, no one would easily believe your words. Until the last moment, no one can be sure they are the winner. At this moment, Immortal Emperor Li Huo suggested that 40 years had passed, and everyone should have gained some strength, so they could begin to eliminate the imperial stars. You were the first to agree. The others also had no objections. Everyone decided to first target Hu Yunjiang, the weaker of the two. After agreeing on the location and time, your true spirit clone controlled a witch sovereign and headed towards the agreed location. Although it was agreed that the true body would go, this was still much safer. If he were truly recognized, it wouldn't be too late for the true body to go then. 2 months later, everyone gathered. Immortal Emperor Li Huo, Immortal Emperor Nanya, Divine Mother, and Immortal Emperor Jun Shao had all broken through to the Witch King realm. As for Fa Xian and Immortal Emperor Tingyu, they were both at the Witch Sovereign realm. When everyone saw that you, the strongest devil star who received an A- grade evaluation, were only at the Witch Sovereign realm, they couldn't help but show a hint of disdain. You were also a bit surprised. I didn't expect these guys to be so weak, not even a Wu Emperor among them. Immortal Emperor Li Huo, the strongest, was only at the middle stage of Witch King. Still very far from Wu Emperor. No wonder they couldn't even recognize this Witch Sovereign, who was just a puppet controlled by you. If you were to act personally, you could probably take them all out by yourself. However, when the faction was formed, you all made an agreement. Before dealing with the two imperial stars, there could be no mutual killing, otherwise, the others would attack together. This agreement was meaningless to you. But you faintly sensed that those who became imperial sons and imperial daughters had Wu Emperor protecting them from behind. They should be the Tao protectors sent by the ancient kingdom. Even without an agreement, if you truly wanted to take them down, it wouldn't be that easy. You also wanted to use them to probe the strength of Xiaoshu and Hu Yunjiang. After everyone arrived, they began to discuss specific countermeasures. As an imperial daughter, Hu Yunjiang must have a Wu Emperor level Tao protector behind her. Although Immortal Emperor Li Huo and the others also had Wu Emperor Tao protectors. But they wouldn't act unless it was a matter of life and death, and they certainly wouldn't help them kill people. To lure away the Tao protector by Hu Yunjiang's side, Immortal Emperor Nanya said that he had specifically invited a Wu Emperor. That was Wu Chong, the chief instructor of the Dezhong Ancient Kingdom's 800,000 Witch God Guards. Because Immortal Emperor Nanya had saved Wu Chong's wife and children when he was out, Wu Chong owed him a favor and was willing to serve him for 3 years. 520. The decisive battle, one person is invincible. The battle with Zhu Juyin, there must be something shady. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, it was only 3 years of service, otherwise, their pressure would have been too immense. Since Nanya had Wu Chong at his service, Hu Yunjiang's Tao protector would be handled by him. The group first took advantage of the night to arrive around Hu Yunjiang's residence, setting up a grand formation to disrupt the Void Realm and prevent spatial travel. Then, they directly charged in. Hu Yunjiang was cultivating when she heard the sounds of fighting outside, and her expression changed. From the commotion, several witch sovereigns were coming to kill her. She came outside, and Immortal Emperor Li Huo and the others immediately surrounded her. Unexpectedly, not only did she show no panic, but she instead smiled strangely. You've fallen into a trap. At this moment, another woman, radiating a powerful aura, appeared on the scene. It was Xiaoshu Immortal King. Observing his strength, he had actually reached the half-step Wu Emperor level. He smiled and said, "It seems my prediction was correct, you would indeed target Immortal Emperor Yunjiang first." The strength Xiaoshu displayed was too formidable, with an overwhelming advantage over the others. Everyone immediately felt the urge to retreat. However, a formation suddenly activated here, surrounding them in turn. Immortal Emperor Li Huo couldn't care less and immediately told Wu Chong to lead everyone away first. Unexpectedly, Xiaoshu's side had also invited a Wu Emperor. He tightly entangled Wu Chong. A great battle quickly unfolded. Divine Mother held back Hu Yunjiang, while the others besieged Xiaoshu. Listening Moon, the weakest in strength, was the first to fall. The Witch Sovereign and Fa Xian, whom you controlled, hid at the edge of the battlefield, occasionally cheering them on. After all, their strength was too weak, they could only do this. However, Xiaoshu couldn't just watch you take advantage. A massive palm print struck towards you. The other few, seeing this, surprisingly did not stop it. Their attitude was very clear. They wanted to use Xiaoshu's hand to eliminate you and Fa Xian first. With the two of you dead, there would be 2 fewer competitors. Why not? Anyway, they still had Tao protectors and were not afraid of the current danger. Keeping the 2 of you would ultimately be a potential threat. Without any surprises, the Witch Sovereign and Fa Xian, whom you controlled, were directly annihilated. In the Tianwu Divine Hall, Wu Tuo announced, Fa Xian's true spirit clone is dead, he is out of the game early. Fa Xian was stunned, pointing at you, who remained expressionless, and shouted, Lu has also died. Why am I the only one eliminated? Wu Tuo, however, did not explain anything, directly waved his hand, and sent him out. Only then did everyone realize that what you had sent was not a true spirit clone at all. But how did you manage to hide it from everyone's perception? Could it be? A bad premonition vaguely rose in everyone's hearts. Tianwu Domain, Hu Yunjiang's residence. At this moment, the battle had entered a white-hot stage. The Tao protectors of both sides had all made their moves. Just as Immortal Emperor Li Huo and the others were about to escape. A brilliant light streaked across the sky and earth, flying from the distant horizon. Within the light was a Wu Emperor with a human head and a bird's body. He possessed unparalleled pressure, and his aura made everyone on the field gasp for breath. This was your true spirit clone. You smiled and said, since you've come, there's no need to leave. All the trial participants in the entire Tianwu domain are here. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to catch them all in one net. You couldn't miss it. Saying that, you struck out with a claw, and the other Wu emperors on the field coughed up blood and flew backward. Except for Xiao Shu, all other trial participants were annihilated. Xiao Shu barely managed to resist with the help of a strange treasure. He glared, his eyes wide with disbelief. He had gone through immense hardship and was a rebirth, only reaching this point today. You aren't even a prince or princess, where did you get such strong strength? At the same time, intense unwillingness surged in his heart. The legacy of Tian Wu Immortal Lord was his biggest opportunity after his rebirth. In his previous life, this opportunity was obtained by Immortal Emperor Li Huo. After his rebirth, he used his memories from his previous life to snatch many opportunities from Immortal Emperor Li Huo, making him unable to compete with himself. He was only one step away from the Immortal Venerable legacy. Unexpectedly, another strongest devil star popped out, knocking everyone to the ground. He was truly unwilling. Just then, a gigantic woman with a human face, dragon body, and entirely crimson appeared on the distant horizon. Seeing this person, Xiao Shu revealed an expression of ecstasy. It's Zhu Juyin, God of Time. Zhu Juyin, God of Time, is one of the 12 great bloodline origins in the Tianwu domain. He is also the ruler of the ancient kingdom here. You killed the Princess Hu Yunzheng on his territory, he will definitely not let you off lightly. Who are you, to dare to lay hands on my bloodline descendant? The true body of Zhu Juyin, God of Time, strode forward, pressing down on you, killing intent sweeping in all directions. Yes, 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 just like that, quickly kill him, so I will be the only surviving trial participant in the Tianwu domain. Xiao Shu frantically roared in his heart. He also didn't expect such a turn of events. The two of you indeed started fighting. The void realm layers cracked open, like pieces of glazed glass. However, to his surprise, it wasn't a one-sided slaughter but an evenly matched fight. How is this possible? That's a bloodline origin. Xiao Shu revealed an expression of extreme horror. His expression was even more exaggerated than when you instantly killed the others just now. At this moment, a claw light descended from the sky. It shattered him into dust. Black screen. Absolutely black screen. The Tianwu Divine Hall was already in an uproar. In just 40 or 50 years, how did that Lu Chengsheng cultivate to become a Wu Emperor? Xiao Shu cultivating to half-step Wu Emperor was already astonishing enough. Unexpectedly, he had been holding back something even bigger. Immortal Emperor Li Huo was especially enraged. Because Hu Yunzheng said that in the previous life, he had obtained the final legacy. Now that he was eliminated, his fury was imaginable. No, there's no black screen. At this moment, Xiao Shu Immortal King opened his eyes. He said, word by word, he cheated. Before I died, I actually saw him fighting Zhu Juyin, God of Time, back and forth, which means he isn't a Wu Emperor at all, but a half-step Immortal Venerable. The others burst into an uproar. This is too outrageous. Cultivating to half-step Immortal Venerable in a few decades, this is equivalent to a half-step Immortal Exalted in the Immortal domain. Even if an Immortal Venerable personally imparted their power, it would be difficult to achieve, right? Are you sure his main body wasn't transported in? You lightly coughed and said, I just worked harder, don't wrongly accuse good people. These guys, they make excuses when they can't win. You've all cultivated to this realm, can't you stop being so childish? Can't you just generously admit that you are far inferior to me?